The legend has returned, folks. Song Jin-woo, our favorite overpowered protagonist, is back for Season 2, and this time he's trading his nap schedule for some high-stakes drama. Smash that like button and leave a comment for Part 2, because the adventure is just getting started. Song Jin-woo's day starts with a rude awakening, literally. His sister, Jinna, calls him early in the morning, shocked to find out that he's still in bed. After all, saving the world doesn't exactly come with a flexible schedule. She reminds him of the parent-teacher meeting at her school that afternoon. Jin-woo, realizing he's completely forgotten, panics and rushes to get ready. When he arrives at the school, Jinna's shock isn't limited to his tardiness. She's stunned by his appearance. Jin-woo looks polished and sharp, the kind of guy who could walk straight onto a runway. Her astonishment is echoed by the girls at the school, who whisper excitedly, calling him handsome. Their eyes sparkle with admiration, and some even try to sneak photos. Jinna, ever the teasing sister, suggests setting him up with one of her friends, but Jin-woo playfully pulls her cheek and tells her to quit joking. Inside the teacher's room, the pair meet Jinna's teacher, who is practically glowing with pride. She hands Jin-woo Jinna's progress report, praising her intelligence and politeness. She's a role model for her peers, the teacher says with a smile. To top it off, she reveals that Jinna's excellent performance on a recent mock exam has opened the door to medical school. Jin-woo, clearly proud, nods along. However, the teacher advises him not to put too much pressure on her. Then, the conversation takes an unexpected turn. The teacher brings up a hypothetical scenario. What if Jinna awakens as a hunter? Jin-woo's expression hardens as he firmly states that he would never allow her to enter such a dangerous profession. The teacher, unbothered by the tension, moves on to ask Jin-woo for a favor. To talk to one of Jinna's friends, Song-yi, and convince her to return to school. Later, Jin-woo meets Song-yi, who recognizes him immediately. She's less interested in hearing about Jinna and more focused on declaring her passion for the hunter's life. Jin-woo, trying to reason with her, points out the harsh reality. As a low-ranked hunter, she can't make a stable living. Sure, you made some money with our strike team, but that was a one-time thing, he says. Song-yi, undeterred, snaps back. Weren't you an E-ranked hunter once too? Jin-woo, realizing this argument won't go anywhere, invites her to accompany him to a gate, saying he has something to show her. Meanwhile, Fang Dong, a high-ranking and bitter member of the Hunters Association, arrives at the airport. His mission? Revenge. Dong is here to settle a score with Jin-woo over the death of his brother Dong-sung, whose team Jin-woo had wiped out during a previous raid. When asked about his stay, Dong makes it clear he doesn't plan to linger. He's focused on his target and doesn't care for subtlety. A Hunter Association member discreetly monitors him, wary of his intentions. Back with Jin-woo, he prepares Song-yi for her first raid at a C-rank gate owned by the White Tiger Guild. This gate is typically used to train freshers. The team includes King Chu, an A-rank tank who makes no effort to hide his disdain for working with low-rank hunters. The team lineup consists of an A-rank, 5 B ranks, 2 C ranks, and Jin-woo and Song-yi as the only E ranks. King Chu scoffs. How long are we going to stand here talking? You know this isn't a field trip, right? I can't believe I'm babysitting E ranks. Jin-woo, unfazed, silently hopes the dungeon's dangers will convince Song-yi to rethink her career choice. As they step into the gate, Jin-woo senses something off. Suddenly, the C-rank gate transforms into a red gate, a deadly anomaly that traps hunters in a dungeon disconnected from the outside world. The only way out is to defeat the dungeon's boss or wait for a dungeon break. Jin-woo tries to take Song-yi out of the gate, but the exit is sealed. Outside, White Tiger Guild leader Bak hears about the red gate and rushes to the scene, visibly shaken by the news. Inside, the team finds themselves in an icy wasteland. Snow stretches as far as the eye can see, and the cold bites through their gear. Jin-woo explains the grim reality of red gates to the group, and the mood turns somber. No one can help us from the outside, Jin-woo says. We're on our own. Just as the group starts strategizing, an ice elf ambushes them, firing arrows. Jinwoo leaps into action, catching an arrow mid-flight to save Songyi. But another team member isn't so lucky and falls to the elf's attack. The elves recognize Jinwoo's strength and retreat, but the damage is done. King Shu takes charge, dividing the team into smaller groups for survival. However, he refuses to take weaker hunters with him, declaring, "We need to focus on those who can fight." A B-rank hunter, Park, decides to join Jinwoo instead. "Kim didn't even notice the arrow," she says, "but you did. You're no E-rank, are you?" Kim's group heads toward an open field while Jinwoo's team ventures into the forest. The tension escalates as Kim's group encounters ice bears, powerful creatures that overwhelm them despite his leadership. Meanwhile, Jinwoo's group faces the boss of the ice bears. Jinwoo summons his shadow soldiers, but the battle proves challenging. His strongest soldier, Igris, finally steps in, defeating the boss with precision and power. Jinwoo marvels at Igris's strength, thinking, "He might be stronger than me." As Dong continues his search for Jinwoo, he learns of the Red Gate and assumes Jinwoo won't survive. Inside the dungeon, Jinwoo's team celebrates their victory, but their relief is short-lived. The ominous presence of a new, more formidable enemy looms in the shadows. And that's it for episode 1. Will Jinwoo and his team escape the icy dungeon, or will they fall prey to its relentless dangers? We then see that Jinwoo stands triumphantly over the massive death bears, flexing his power as a necromancer. With a simple command, the bear corpses transform into shadow bears, joining his growing army. Outside the portal, Sang explains that the strike force has been trapped for 3 hours, which translates to 3 days inside due to the portal's warp time. Red gates are known for being deadly, so Dong-soo confidently declares Jinwoo must be dead and gets ready to leave. But before walking off, he demands to know why Jinwoo was with the White Tiger Guild in the first place. Sang casually explains that Jinwoo was just a curious acquaintance tagging along to observe a C-rank mission. Dong-soo isn't buying it. Out of nowhere, Dong-soo grabs Sung by the throat, accusing him of hiding something. He knows Sung has a knack for spotting talented hunters. Before things escalate further, Baek steps in, transforming into his battle mode and telling Dong-soo to back off. Dong-soo, unfazed, mocks Baek as a big fish in a small pond. Both Baek hunters then release their overwhelming power, sending shockwaves of terror through the crowd. Sung, panicking, knows an S-rank brawl could flatten the whole area. Despite his warnings, the two clash, and the tension skyrockets. Meanwhile, inside the portal, Kim Chul breathes a sigh of relief after escaping the elves, only to stumble upon the shredded corpses of the death bears. He's horrified and can't believe the weak E-ranks he abandoned could be responsible. Convinced something stronger, like ice elves, caused the carnage, Kim retreats. Back outside, Dong-soo is impressed when Jin Chul intervenes to stop the S-rank battle. Jin Chul humbly admits his arms are still attached only because the two S-ranks held back at the last moment. Trying to calm things down, Jin Chul insists Jinwoo is just a harmless E-rank. He even mentions a recent re-evaluation, confirming Jinwoo's lack of power. Dong-soo dismisses this as a cover-up, still convinced Jinwoo is somehow tied to his brother's death. But if not Jinwoo, Dong-soo's second suspect is the rich and shady Leo. When asked why he's targeting Jinwoo, Dong-soo coldly replies, "It's just an excuse to kill." Before Dong-soo can act, he's called away, muttering that Jinwoo is lucky this time. Inside the gate, Jinwoo's group sits around a campfire trying to stay warm. The peace is broken when a furious Kim Chul storms in, shocked to see the weaklings thriving while his group suffers. Dressed in warm gear and surrounded by food and blankets, Jinwoo's group looks way too comfortable. Kim accuses them of hoarding supplies and blames them for his team's deaths. He targets Park, suspecting she joined the weaker group because she knew the truth. Demanding answers, he starts a countdown, threatening to kill everyone if no one confesses. When no one speaks up, he snaps, screaming Jinwoo's name and preparing to attack. Before he can make a move, Jinwoo appears, instantly overpowering him. The group is stunned as Jinwoo calmly scolds Kim for blaming others for his failures. Jinwoo then senses a dark, sinister presence nearby and accuses Kim of attracting even more trouble. Jinwoo orders them to drop their stealth. The Ice Elves reveal themselves, with their leader mocking the humans and noting that Jinwoo's strength is unusual. To everyone's shock, Jinwoo responds fluently in the elves' language. Even he's surprised by this skill, quickly guessing it's thanks to his cheat system. The elven leader explains their presence. One of his men sensed Jinwoo's immense power and wanted to challenge him. Before the leader can finish, Jinwoo decapitates the challenger, silencing him in an instant. The leader, amused by Jinwoo's brutality, taunts him further. Jinwoo, uninterested in small talk, launches an attack. The leader skillfully defends himself, and Jinwoo realizes this fight won't be easy. The leader smirked and asked Jinwoo, "You're no human. Why pretend to be?" Barca explains that elves are driven by a voice commanding them to kill humans, but oddly, they don't hear it when it comes to Jinwoo. Jinwoo's suspicious now, wondering if this has something to do with his cheat system. Barca tries to talk Jinwoo into handing over the humans, saying it's the smart move, but Jinwoo isn't here to make deals. He demands to know why the elves are hunting humans. Just as Barca starts to explain, his body glitches like a buggy NPC repeating himself. Creepy, right? Jinwoo, unfazed, refuses to back down. Barca warns Jinwoo that he's making a big mistake and reminds him the elves outnumber him. Jinwoo, being Jinwoo, just smirks and summons his shadow army, leaving everyone in shock. Barca mocks the army as useless, but Jinwoo doesn't care. The fight begins and it's absolute chaos. The humans in Jinwoo's group try to run, but the elves target them. Jinwoo steps in, wrecking the elven archers like a one-man army. However, as the battle goes on, Jinwoo starts to see why Barca was so cocky. The elves are stronger than expected, and keeping his shadow army alive is draining his magic power. Worse, Barca is clearly stronger than him. When Barca goes one-on-one with Jinwoo, even Igris can't tip the odds. Jinwoo realizes his regular soldiers won't cut it, and he'll need something stronger. The two formally introduce themselves before clashing. Barca dominates the fight, but Jinwoo pulls a slick move by teleporting his blade mid-attack, keeping Barca guessing. The back and forth is intense, but Jinwoo gets pushed back. Barca admits he hasn't had this much fun in years, and Jinwoo responds by dropping a massive meteor on him, catching him off guard. Meanwhile, Kim Chul, who's been seething in the corner, decides to take a cheap shot at Jinwoo during the chaos. But Jinwoo's always 10 steps ahead. He orders Igris to create a smokescreen, and in the confusion, Igris takes Kim Chul out for good. Jinwoo raises Kim as a shadow soldier, naming him Iron, and the guy wakes up with a scream loud enough to shake the battlefield. Seeing Iron, Barca retreats for a moment, but then he's back, demanding Jinwoo and Igris join the fight. Jinwoo agrees, and the 3-on-1 showdown kicks off. Barca handles all three with ease, but Iron's constant screaming starts to annoy him. He focuses on taking Iron out, but Iron proves to be a tank, shrugging off every hit. While Barca's distracted, Jinwoo takes his chance and lands a clean stab, finally catching Barca off guard. Jinwoo gives him credit for lasting this long, but things quickly go downhill for Barca. When he turns to check on his army, he's greeted by the absolute nightmare of Jinwoo's shadow army having wiped out his entire clan. Still confident, and maybe a little delusional, Barca thinks beating Jinwoo alone will turn the tide. Jinwoo tosses a dagger at him, and Barca mocks him, calling it a rookie mistake. That is, until the dagger boomerangs back and destroys Barca's weapon. Jinwoo doesn't stop there. He orders Iron to hold Barca in place while his magic soldiers unleash a fiery attack. But, of course, Barca refuses to go down quietly, breaking free and trying to launch a counterattack. Jinwoo, however, shuts him down with a decisive strike, reminding Barca that the fight is over. Even after Iron dramatically stomps on Barca's lifeless body, Jinwoo has to remind his troops to tone it down. The team finally catches their breath, relieved that the nightmare is over. Jinwoo casually tells them it's time to leave, but takes one last look at Barca's body. Outside the portal, Sang and Baek are debating whether to pack it up and go home. Baek thinks Kim Chul might still make it, but when the portal opens, only 2 of his guild members, along with Song-yi and the last one, Jinru, come out of the portal. Baek's shock quickly turns into confusion about what happened to Kim Chul and the others. Beck demands answers, but Jinwoo, who's clearly exhausted, brushes him off and says, "Ask someone else in your guild." Beck is stunned, interpreting this as a power move. He tries to press Jinwoo, but Jinwoo calmly reminds him that he saved the surviving members and deserves some gratitude. Beck, realizing he's been schooled, apologizes. Afterward, Sang tells Beck how impressive Jinwoo is and hints at recruiting him. Meanwhile, Jinwoo drops Songyi home and she thanks him, excited to see him again. On his way back, Jinwoo reflects on the mission. Despite all the chaos, less than a day has passed in the real world. To his annoyance, all he got for his trouble was a single dagger. He also fails to raise Barca as a shadow soldier, which only adds to his disappointment. The next day, Jinwoo meets up with Leo, who shows up dressed like he's going to a cosplay convention. Before their mission, Jinwoo insists they pick someone up, Songyi. Leo is immediately suspicious of how casual Jinwoo and Songyi are with each other. When Jinwoo asks Songyi if she slept well, Leo misinterprets the situation entirely. Clearly uncomfortable, Leo reminds Jinwoo that Songyi is underage. Jinwoo, oblivious to Leo's concern, brushes it off, leaving Leo even more worried about what's going on. The group finally arrives at a dungeon and immediately stumbles into chaos. While everyone else is busy fighting ogres, Jinwoo stands back. Yu, curious as ever, asks, "What are those things?" Jinwoo, realizing he's explained this before, just says, "It's one of my abilities." Yu isn't satisfied. "Wait, you can summon ghost soldiers?" Jinwoo, avoiding a long explanation, changes the subject. Once the fight ends, Jinwoo snaps his fingers, ordering his shadow army to collect the precious gems. Yu kneels dramatically and begs, "Can I at least help with the gems?" One of the shadow soldiers hands him a pile, and Yu thanks him like he just won the lottery. Meanwhile, on a shipwrecked boat, a warrior is screaming in panic. A man tries to calm him down, explaining that the others are just unconscious. But since they don't speak the same language, his words are completely lost. The guy points to himself and says, "He is a human." Back with Jinwoo and Yu, they head to a restaurant after their expedition to celebrate. Over plates of meat and a couple of drinks, Yu thanks Jinwoo, saying the mission would have been impossible without him. Jinwoo asks about Yu's next move, and Yu explains he's taking a test to become a guild master so he can negotiate with his dad. Jinwoo mentions he'll be out of contact for a while because he has something important to do. As the drinks flow, Jinho reveals he has an older brother, 10 years his senior, who doesn't like him. "We've never really been brothers." Jinho, getting emotional, lowers his head and admits, "I wish you were my brother." The room goes silent for a moment before Jinwoo smiles and says, "All right, we're brothers now." Jinho, tearing up, raises his glass and offers Jinwoo more meat. Jinwoo laughs. "Are you drunk?" Jinho insists he's totally sober. Meanwhile, the authorities arrest a man who attacked others on a shipwrecked boat. Turns out, he's a hunter who got trapped in a portal 10 years ago and somehow ended up in the US. Since he doesn't speak English, a translator is called in, and the authorities suspect he might be a humanoid beast. To investigate further, they request help from an S-Rank hunter, Huang Dong-Su, based in Washington. The officers struggle to pronounce the prisoner's name, eventually calling him Sung Il-Wan. Back to Jinwoo. After returning home briefly, he tells his sister he's leaving again for a month. She teases him, "Since when do you have a girlfriend?" Jinwoo just ignores her. In the next scene, Jinwoo heads back to a place he's been before, the Demon Castle. The last time he was there at level 20, he couldn't beat Cerberus, but now, with his level tripled, he feels confident. He opens the dungeon door and storms in. Right away, he's given a ridiculous task: collect 10,000 demonic souls. Jinwoo sweats at the number but shrugs it off. "Be it 10 or 100,000, I'll take them all down," he says. Meanwhile, Jinho is busy submitting his resume to his dad, asking for control of the Yujin Guild. His dad brings up Jin Sung, his elder son, who had different plans for the guild. Jinho argues that putting an outsider in charge is too risky. His dad then mentions Jin Woo, who was involved in the infamous dungeon tragedy that wiped out Wang Dong-Suk's group. He brings up the recent Red Portal incident with the White Tiger Guild, where Jinwoo became the hero, saving the survivors. He's clearly impressed by Jinwoo and wonders if Jinho is really ready to lead the Yujin Guild. "Do you think you can handle this?" his dad asks. Jinho doesn't back down and insists he's ready. His dad agrees to give him a chance, but adds a twist. White Tiger is trying to recruit Jin Woo after his heroic actions, and Jin Ho's first mission is to bring Jin Woo to Yujin before White Tiger snatches him. No pressure, right? Meanwhile, Jin Woo is busy in the demon castle, battling his own frustrations. He can't extract demon souls because their mana is corrupted. Hundreds of kills, and he has nothing to show for it. Luckily, he gets written permission to move to the second floor. The dungeon is massive, so big it looks like a city stuffed into a single building. Not wanting to waste energy, Jin Woo summons the leader of the Ice Bears as a mount and names him Tank. Riding on Tank's back, Jin Woo charges through hordes of demons like a boss, clearing the path with ease. Elsewhere, we're introduced to the Hunters Association, which looks more like a luxury resort with gyms and swimming pools. Chahat steps out of the water, turning heads with her beauty, but she's deep in thought. She remembers a meeting with Master Troy Jongin, where she wanted to warn people about flying ants. Yes, flying ants. But Troy shut her down, saying it would cause unnecessary panic. Instead, his focus was on making their guild the biggest and strongest. Back in the dungeon, Jin Woo fights waves of ranked demons. They're not individually strong, but they come in overwhelming numbers. The deeper he goes, the tougher the enemies get. Still, he pushes forward, collecting the 10,000 demonic souls needed for his mission. Along the way, he realizes he's running low on food, adding another layer of stress to his expedition. Finally, Jin Woo reaches the 50th floor, where he encounters the boss, the Volcano of Greed. This massive demon radiates power and guards the lower floors like a king on a throne. Meanwhile, White Tiger's manager, An Sang-min, and Park Hee-jin visit Jin Woo's house to recruit him. They only find his sister, who casually mentions he's on a trip. An, being the Sherlock Holmes of hunters, pieces together that Jin Woo hasn't joined any recent raids. His exact location remains a mystery, but An is confident he'll figure it out. Park Hee-jin is impressed by his detective skills, and An smugly says, "It's my job." Back in the dungeon, Jin Woo orders his shadow army to handle the demon horde while he focuses on the boss. His spectral mages rain fire on the battlefield, and Igris, his blood-red knight, tears through the enemy ranks like a tornado. Jin Woo's increased intelligence allows him to summon more soldiers and boost their magical power, making his army nearly unstoppable. As the battle unfolds, Jin Woo notices the Volcano of Greed hasn't moved an inch. Deciding to take the initiative, Jin Woo prepares to strike. But before he can act, the Demon Lord explodes into action, charging at him with blinding speed. Jin Woo moves fast and lands a powerful punch that sends the Volcano of Greed flying across the battlefield. The sheer force of the hits surprises even Jin Woo, as he realizes just how much strength he's invested into his stats. The Volcano of Greed, enraged by the damage, activates its Cerberus ability and charges at Jin Woo with its massive mace. Anticipating the attack, Jin Woo calls for Iron to send over a shield. With the shield raised, he successfully blocks the relentless blows, though the sheer force starts to wear it down, making Jin Woo worry about how long it can hold up. Waiting for the perfect moment, Jin Woo defends until he sees an opening. He breaks free from the demon's onslaught and leaps toward its neck for a decisive attack. However, the volcano counters with a swift strike from its club, nearly ending the fight. Using the hand of the ruler, Jin Woo manages to absorb enough of the impact to survive, though the close call leaves him shaken. Realizing the demon's movements are too unpredictable, Jin Woo decides to exploit its rage. He lures the giant toward a nearby building. As the volcano charges, unable to stop itself, it crashes into the structure. Using the opportunity, Jin Woo climbs the debris and delivers a precise dagger strike to the demon's head, finally bringing it down. For his victory, he earns a fragment of the Tree of Life. Meanwhile, in the United States, Dong-soo arrives to interrogate Sung-il-won. The prisoner speaks first, questioning how much humanity truly understands about portals and magical beasts. He warns that the current threats are nothing compared to a far greater catastrophe that has begun to awaken. According to Sung-il-won, his mission is to prevent the disaster from happening. Ignoring the warnings, Dong-soo presses Sung-il-won for personal information, asking if he remembers his family. The prisoner confirms that one of his children is named Jin-woo. This revelation fuels Dong-soo's determination, vowing to meet Jin-woo again under dark circumstances. Back in the demon castle, Jinwoo advances through the upper floors with his shadow army. Along the way, he eliminates Matus, the soul guide, adding another victory to his growing list. News spreads about a fight between Sung Il-won and Dong-su. The area is left in ruins, showing the power of two S-rank hunters. Witnesses say Dong-su was defeated in seconds. Reaching the 75th floor, Jinwoo finds himself out of food. Despite his frustration, he reflects on the valuable loot he's gathered. From the 50th floor boss, he gained a powerful earring. From a skeleton enemy, he acquired a necklace. He also obtained the Mirror of Greed, a useful tool for enhancing his spectral mages. Lastly, he found a mysterious key, though its purpose remains unknown. Jinwoo's main goal remains clear, collecting the 3 fragments of the Tree of Life to save his mother. He already has 2, the first from defeating the Volcano of Greed, and the second, Water, from the Echo Forest, earned by defeating Minas. With only 1 fragment left, Jinwoo prepares to continue his journey, determined to complete his mission no matter the obstacles ahead. After stepping through the shimmering portal, Jinwoo checked his inventory. 2 out of 3 materials needed for the Elixir of Life were secured. All that remained was the purified blood of the Demon King. Sounds easy, right? Wrong. To get his hands on that, Jinwoo knew he had to be fully prepared, mentally, physically, and inventory-wise. Thanks to his grueling expedition through the Demon Castle, Jinwoo had leveled up several times. But officially, he was still stuck as an E-rank hunter, which meant he couldn't take on higher-level missions. Frustrated by this limitation, Jinwoo decided it was time to reassess his rank. The next day, at the Hunters Association headquarters, Hyun Kitchell, a cheerful and slightly nosy staff member, eagerly watched the candidates. He loved guessing their ranks before assessments began. Spotting a man in a flashy purple shirt, Kitchell thought, this guy's probably a solid C rank. Then his gaze shifted to Jinwoo. With his casual appearance and calm demeanor, Jinwoo looked like just another E-rank hunter. Nothing special, Kitchell thought. Until the evaluation began. When Jinwoo's turn came, he calmly approached the black orb used for assessments. As soon as he placed his hand on it, the orb flashed, blinked, and... error. The employee in charge frowned, muttered something about glitches, and tried again. Same result. Error. This wasn't a simple malfunction. Something big was happening. The director, alerted by the commotion, rushed in to see what was going on. One look at the error message, and his jaw dropped. The orb wasn't broken. It simply couldn't measure Jinwoo's magical power. Why? Because it was too high. Jinwoo had surpassed the limits of the machine. The room went silent. Everyone stared in disbelief. The director declared that Jinwoo was one of the most powerful hunters in the country, a rank only 10 others had ever achieved. Jinwoo, ever the cool-headed guy, simply nodded as if this kind of thing happened to him every Tuesday. Earlier, Choi had casually asked about the flying ant research. Jinchul explained that the team was analyzing and comparing the structure and magical power of old and new specimens. Fancy words, but the bottom line? Results would take time. Switching topics, Choi brought up the Red Portal raid. Apparently, the White Tiger Guild let an outsider join, and that outsider even defeated the boss. Naturally, Choi wanted details. Jinchul admitted he'd been present but had left before the final moments, so he didn't have much to share. Disappointed, Choi shook his head. Before he could say more, he noticed unusual noise from the hall. Jinchul guessed it was just someone being assessed, but decided to take a look. Choi, intrigued, followed. The scene they walked into was chaotic. A hunter had just broken the assessment machine. It couldn't read his magical power. The director, trying to calm things down, told the hunter to return in 3 days for another attempt. From the sidelines, Kitchell watched, thinking, An called it perfectly. Then, Master Choi Jong-in entered the hall, immediately commanding attention. Jinwoo recognized him as the supreme hunter of fire magic. Choi, meanwhile, observed Jinwoo's overwhelming mana and realized he was the source of the uproar. A guild representative approached Jinwoo, hoping to discuss recruitment, but Jinwoo didn't even glance their way. He walked out as if nothing had happened. Choi, a little embarrassed, asked Jinchul if Jinwoo knew who he was. Jinchul confirmed he did. Choi sighed, wondering if he was losing his touch. Before they could leave, Beck, the White Tiger Guild president, arrived, clearly in a rush. Choi quickly pieced it together. Jinwoo must have been the one who cleared the red portal. Beck's reaction said it all. That evening, Jinwoo visited his mother at the hospital. Sitting by her side, he softly asked her to hold on a little longer. As he stepped out of her room, Jinchul was waiting. The manager admitted Jinwoo had completely shifted his perspective. The surveillance team's job was to monitor hunters, but Jinwoo was beyond anything they'd handled before. Unmoved, Jinwoo asked if they were treating him like a criminal. Jinchul clarified it was just protocol, but even they struggled to handle Rank S hunters. Before Jinwoo could leave, Jinchul mentioned someone wanted to meet him. Emerging from the shadows, Go Gun-hee, the Hunters Association president, greeted Jinwoo warmly and congratulated him on becoming an S-rank hunter. He explained that when the machine failed to assess someone, it could only mean one thing: they had reached the highest level. Gun-hee didn't waste time. The association couldn't compete with the big guilds in wealth or fame, but they needed someone like Jinwoo to maintain balance. The 5 major guilds were always at odds, and Jinwoo could shift the scales in their favor. Gun-hee shared that he was once Korea's first S-rank hunter. Despite being over 80, he still looked like he could wrestle a bear. He offered Jinwoo stability and influence, promising it would be a life-changing decision. Jinwoo thought for a moment but declined. He wasn't interested in politics or stability. His place was in the dungeon, fighting magical beasts. Gun-hee respected his choice but felt a pang of regret. If he were younger, he'd have loved to fight alongside someone like Jinwoo. With a nod, he let the hunter go. Jinwoo, ever focused on his family, headed home. His sister was waiting, and that was what mattered most. After Jinwoo left, Go Gun-hee sat in silence, the weight of the encounter lingering. He dismissed the rest of his schedule, feeling an unsettling tension that even years of experience couldn't shake. Meanwhile, Jinwoo walked home, lost in thought. The Hunter Association's focus on low-level dungeons wasn't going to help him. He needed more than that. He needed power. His mother's life depended on it, and every step he took now was aimed at saving her. The next morning, Dong-soo woke up in a hospital bed, his body throbbing with pain. The humiliation of his defeat burned more than his injuries. He could still see Jinwoo's cold gaze, feel the weight of his foot pressing down as he delivered a stark warning. That moment fueled Dong-soo's determination to face him again, but he knew he couldn't rely on raw strength alone. Artifacts, legendary gear with immense power, became his focus. Once crafted by master artisans, these rare items now surfaced in auctions, fetching astronomical prices. Jinwoo, too, had browsed through listings, searching for something that could aid him. But the costs were well beyond his reach, and selling his orb of avarice would draw attention he couldn't afford. While weighing his options, Jinwoo spotted a notice about a job. Miners were hiring hunters for an A-rank raid. It wasn't ideal, but it was an opportunity. Elsewhere, Go Gun-hee reviewed Jinwoo's history. His transformation over the years was startling. The young hunter's dedication stood out. Despite his struggles, he had supported his family, paying for his mother's hospital bills and his sister's education. It was clear this wasn't someone chasing fame or fortune, but someone with a singular, personal goal. At the mining site, Jinwoo joined a team of laborers and hunters. The leaders sized him up, noting his lack of experience. This was grunt work, mining mana crystals and cleaning up after battles. Yet, Jinwoo didn't mind. He understood that every step, no matter how small, brought him closer to his goal. Inside the dungeon, chaos reigned. A roar shook the cave as Chai Jong-in, the attack team leader, effortlessly conjured a massive fireball that wiped out giant monsters in an instant. "Tanks, your turn," he called. The shield hunters moved swiftly, forming a protective barrier that even enemy fire couldn't break. With the immediate threats neutralized, the team pressed deeper into the dungeon. Jinwoo overhears that the attack team is leaving, which means everything in the dungeon has been cleared, except for the boss. Yesterday when he met Chio-Jan, Jinwoo already knew the guy was strong, but clearing an A-rank dungeon without breaking a sweat? That's just next level. Meanwhile, Cha Hae-in, the second in command of the Hunters Guild and 9th rank in Korea, walks by the miners. As she passes, she senses something strange in the air and even wonders if President Go is nearby. With the attack team done, it's finally time for the miners and collectors to do their part. Inside, Jinwoo's attention is on a strong magical signal coming from the depths of the cave, most likely from the dungeon's boss. This creature feels stronger than Vulcan and Midas from the Demon Castle, which makes Jinwoo want to head down there right away and test his strength against it. Around him, a group of miners laughs at an E-rank newbie who joined the team. Jinwoo realizes that low-level hunters always get treated this way. Then, a guy bumps into him and acts like he's about to fight. But as soon as Jinwoo shows his mana-filled eyes, the guy backs off, scared. As Jinwoo mines, some workers notice how strong he is for someone at such a low rank. But they don't mind. It's a blessing for the mining team. Later, it's lunchtime, and with everyone taking a break, Jinwoo decides it's the perfect time to sneak toward the boss chamber. He knows if he defeats the boss, the portal will close, and the guild will take a big hit. But he's not going to pass up the chance to take a few hits at the monster first. Just as he's about to move, Cha Hae-in shows up, holding a cloth to her nose and asking, "What are you doing here?" Jinwoo claimed he had gotten lost and ended up in the boss chamber by accident. Cha Ha, not impressed, told him to leave. She explained that this was the boss's chamber and one wrong move could put everyone in danger. As he stood there, Jinwoo realized the rumors about Cha Ha were true. She had snuck up on him without him noticing. Then something strange happened. Jinwoo turned around and Cha Ha blinked. Hadn't he been holding a gun a moment ago? Now it was gone. He casually walked past her, but Cha Ha's instincts kicked in. She asked him to wait and, to Jinwoo's surprise, sniffed him like a curious dog. His face turned red. Cha Ha's nose twitched. This guy didn't smell like the usual hunters. In fact, he had a pleasant scent. She checked his ID and after a pause, told him to be careful on his way out. When Jinwoo returned to his team, they couldn't stop talking about his close encounter with Cha Ha, as if he'd just won the lottery. They explained that Cha Ha was responsible for protecting workers in the dungeon, even covering their lunch breaks. The only quirky thing about her was that she hated the smell of hunters, so she always covered her nose with a cloth. Jinwoo couldn't help but think about how differently she treated him. Like he wasn't a hunter at all. It reminded him of what Baruga had said at the Red Portal. He guessed it was because he was the player, though he still didn't fully understand what that meant. The system on his side gave him some perks, but the rest was a mystery. After his shift, Jinwoo was paid for his work and praised by the boss, who offered him a permanent position. The boss had never seen anyone so naturally skilled. Jinwoo politely declined, saying he'd only come because he had free time. But the boss, ever persistent, invited him back the next day for a double raid. One with a rank A and another with a rank C. Jinwoo agreed, remembering his revaluation was the next day. The boss was thrilled and even offered double pay. Later, Cha Ha contacted the association for info on Jinwoo, but found his data locked. Even more curious, she learned that Master Choi had requested information on him. Why was his data locked? He wasn't even a high-level hunter. As she lay in bed, Cha Ha couldn't stop thinking about him. The strange man with his odd behavior and pleasant scent, especially since Master Choi was also after him. The next day, Jinwoo returned to work and impressed everyone with his skill in resource extraction. The workers felt like they were in the presence of a machine. Lunchtime came and the boss offered him 5 times the usual salary. But before he could respond, Captain Sung Ki-kun approached. He wanted someone from the mining team to join his raid, with hazard pay thrown in. The team leader hesitated, knowing they weren't experienced enough for such a dangerous mission. But Jinwoo, ever the risk-taker, volunteered. His colleagues were shocked. Jinwoo didn't care about the money. He felt like he needed to do this. The captain formally introduced himself, and outside the portal some hunters expressed concern. But the captain reassured them. The main team had already cleared out the stronger monsters. Jinwoo surveyed the secondary team, which included 6 rank A hunters and 3 rank B ones. Inside, the atmosphere was different. Less magic than yesterday's dungeon, but something felt off. That same eerie feeling from the red portal crept over him. A woman in the team noticed his unease. "Relax. The captain and the others are strong. We'll be fine." Before Jinwoo could respond, a deep growl echoed through the cavern. The team immediately went on high alert. Red eyes flickered in the darkness. Jackals. A whole pack of them. The hunters sprang into action, demonstrating tight teamwork. Every move was precise. Every roll was clear. They weren't just strong, they were professionals. The jackals never stood a chance. After the fight, though, something didn't add up. Jackals? In a rank A dungeon? One of the hunters muttered. "They're C-rank monsters. They wouldn't normally survive here." Jinwoo squinted at the jackals. Wait a minute. Were those collars? For a brief second, he imagined some guy raising them like hunting dogs, training them to fetch adventurers' limbs like prized bones. Before he could process the absurdity, heavy footsteps echoed through the cavern. A group of massive orcs emerged, each one looking more pissed off than the last. Their leader didn't bother with pleasantries. He hurled his spear straight at the captain, the sheer force behind it causing the shield to crack like cheap plastic. The team's tank jumped into action, trying to provoke the orcs to focus on him. Bad idea. These weren't your standard dungeon mobs. Instead of charging head-on, they split off and targeted the back line. A mage hurled a fireball to repel them, but the flames barely left a mark. High magic resistance. Just great. A witch managed to bind one of them with a spell, but it was so strong it broke free in seconds. Meanwhile, another mage summoned 2 flame warriors to fight alongside them, a spell that drained a massive chunk of mana. Unfortunately, the summoned warriors weren't doing much. The fighter of the group tried some hand-to-hand combat, only to get swatted into a wall like a ragdoll. The healer rushed in to help, but she was already overwhelmed. The captain, realizing they were getting outclassed, ordered the team to split into smaller groups to avoid being completely wiped out. Just one of these orcs was a match for an A-rank hunter, meaning the B-rank members had no chance. Predictably, one of the lower-ranked hunters had his arm torn off. The witch intervened just in time to stop the orc from finishing the job, giving the healer a chance to work. But before she could finish, an even bigger orc loomed behind her, ready to strike. Then, out of nowhere, the beast collapsed. No one saw what happened, but something had sliced its tendons clean through. As the fight continued, the orcs got slower, their movements stiff and uncoordinated. Jinwoo wasn't officially part of this raid, but he wasn't about to watch these people die. He moved like a shadow, weakening the orcs without drawing attention to himself. With the balance shifting, the team managed to turn the tide and win. As they caught their breath, the healer turned to the captain. "Did anyone else notice something weird during that fight?" The captain frowned. "Yeah, Gina, was that you?" The witch scoffed. "If I had that kind of skill, do you think I'd be stuck casting support spells?" No one could figure out who had intervened, but the witch's gaze lingered on Jinwoo. She knew. She just chose to keep it to herself. The group debated their next move. This dungeon was far more dangerous than expected. Jinwoo fully expected the captain to push forward out of sheer stubbornness. So when Ki-hoon called for a retreat, everyone sighed in relief. But nothing was ever that easy. As they reached the portal, a barrier blocked their exit. The witch examined it and grimaced. "I can undo this," she said. "But it'll take time." That was when everyone felt it, a suffocating wave of magical pressure, thick and oppressive, pressing down on their lungs. Even the B-ranks noticed it. Jinwoo's stomach twisted. Why hadn't they sensed this from outside the portal? Then, things got worse. Some hunters started bleeding spontaneously. The cursed energy seeped into their bodies, attacking them from within. Before they could react, a deep, guttural growl echoed through the cavern. 50 fully armed orcs stood at the ready, their glowing eyes locked onto the humans. The captain, realizing a direct fight would be suicide, tried the smart approach. He stepped forward and attempted diplomacy. The orc leader approached, letting out a guttural laugh before speaking in an ancient tongue. Then his head started spinning like an exorcist nightmare, his eye glowing ominously. "I am Carvuljan," he finally announced in perfect human language. "I have been expecting you." The captain, somehow keeping a straight face, asked. "So, you blocked the portal?" Carvuljan grinned. "Of course. I am a master of curses." "Right, and? Is there anyone here stronger than you?" The orc laughed so hard it echoed through the cavern. Stronger, foolish human. No one surpasses me. Jinwoo had heard that before, usually from guys who died 5 minutes later. The orc chief gives the humans a choice: follow him or die. But Siu knows there's only one real option. Reluctantly, he agrees. As the chief turns to leave, the captain quickly calls for Jinwoo. When he arrives, the captain lays out the plan. The moment the chief returns, they'll strike. Carvelian won't be able to hold the barrier while fighting. Jinwoo's job is to escape and call for reinforcements. Before he leaves, the healer hands Jinwoo a letter, her will. She asks him to deliver it to her family. This is the life of a hunter, but Jinwoo isn't one of them. He should live. The moment reminds Jinwoo of the double dungeon, where he was abandoned to die, but this time it's different. These people are sacrificing themselves for him. Holding their wills, he silently swears to deliver them. Outside the portal, Cha-Ha looks for Jinwoo. When she can't find him, she asks the team leader, who casually replies, he's inside, working as a carrier. Meanwhile, the expedition follows the orcs to a massive fortress. The hunters are stunned. These aren't just savages, but an advanced civilization. Soon they stand before a grand throne where the orc king sneers at them and growls, "Human worms."
Hunter Cha already thought an E-rank volunteering for an A-rank dungeon was insane. But now, she was certain Jinwoo had a weapon in the boss room yesterday. She informed the chief that she was going into the portal, and when he asked if she needed backup, she dismissed the concern, saying it was personal. As she prepared to enter, she realized she had forgotten her sword. She asked if anyone had a spare, but the chief handed her a rock pickaxe instead. Unsatisfied, she asked if there was anything better, like a sword or a spear, but quickly realized that asking miners for combat weapons was pointless. The chief then questioned if she really wanted to enter the dungeon empty-handed, making her immediately regret her choices. Inside the boss room, the atmosphere was terrifying. The squad understood that if the superior orcs managed to escape, the city would be wiped out in minutes. Their only option was to take down the boss. Yet even his 4 guards looked terrifying enough to haunt their nightmares. The Orc King removed his mask and taunted them, asking if they were scared. The fear on their faces made the question unnecessary. Ki-hoon, summoning what little courage he had, asked why they had been brought there after already surviving 60 orcs. The Orc King simply laughed, explaining that it was for fun. They were going to be killed one by one. However, as he spoke, he noticed something unusual among the humans. Ki-hoon, overwhelmed with fear, screamed that they were merely playthings. He gave the order to attack, but no one moved, frozen in terror. Jinwoo, in a reckless attempt to fight back, charged in alone. It was a terrible decision. The boss conjured an ice spike, launching him across the room, then used gravity magic to slam his head into the ground like a basketball. Just as he was about to deliver the final blow, someone stepped in. It was Jinwoo. He reminded the boss that this dungeon belonged to the Hunter Guild and casually asked if he could just erase all the monsters in the room. An orc attempted to sneak up on him, but instead it was the orc who got tossed aside like a rag doll. Ki-hoon, desperate, begged Jinwoo to save them. The Orc King was intrigued. He acknowledged Jinwoo's strength for a human, but questioned how long he could last. Jinwoo admitted that he had never felt energy this powerful before. The boss seemed excited, until Jinwoo smirked. He declared that the fight would be brutal, but not for him. Without hesitation, he summoned his shadow army, stronger than ever. Meanwhile, outside the dungeon, Inspector Jinkool arrived in his limousine, utterly confused. He questioned why Jinwoo had spent the past 2 days working as a miner. When he asked the chief where Jinwoo was, he learned that someone else had asked the same thing earlier. The man who had tried to intimidate Jinwoo looked like he had seen a ghost. The chief revealed that Jinwoo had volunteered as a tank. Jinyol stood there in shock, unable to comprehend Jinwoo's actions. Then, a massive explosion of energy shook the entire area. Inside the portal, Cha wondered how Ki-hoon's team had managed to defeat so many superior orcs. However, if that energy truly belonged to the boss, there was no way anyone would survive. Back in the boss room, the Orc King mocked Jinwoo's shadow soldiers, calling them weak. Jinwoo warned him not to underestimate them unless he wanted to be erased. Activating Monarch's domain, he strengthened his soldiers even further. The mages in the room were stunned. While they struggled to summon even 2 shadows, Jinwoo had an entire army at his command. The Orc King signaled for his orcs to charge. Iron attempted to taunt them, but instead simply smashed them into oblivion. Yagras moved with lethal precision, slicing through the orcs effortlessly. However, the real monster was Jinwoo. The squad could only watch in disbelief, wondering why he had hidden his strength for so long. Apart from Igris, Iron, and Tank, the rest of Jinwoo's shadows were at a B rank level. He needed to eliminate as many enemies as possible before his mana ran out. Then, the boss unleashed the Dragonfire Anthem, obliterating nearly all of Jinwoo's shadows. He ridiculed them as weak puppets, but Jinwoo simply warned him to be careful. His soldiers would continue respawning as long as he had mana. The boss attempted to crush Jinwoo with an iceberg and followed up with a full magic barrage. Meanwhile, the weaker hunters were scrambling for their lives, trying to avoid the devastation. Outside, the association measured the energy within the portal and discovered it was far stronger than expected. They immediately called for reinforcements. Inside, the Orc King laughed, assuming Jinwoo was running out of mana. However, unlike during his class change quest, Jinwoo could now use as many mana potions as he wanted. With his mana replenished, the battle became far more interesting. He extracted the shadows from all the superior orcs he had defeated. Then, locking eyes with the Orc King, he declared that he was next. At that moment, something snapped within the boss. He attempted to utter Shadow Monarch, but before he could, the system forcibly stopped him. His mind went blank, as if it had crashed. Unable to comprehend what was happening, he instead ordered his generals to bring him the heads of the remaining humans. At Hunters Guild HQ, Choi was briefed on the situation. He initially believed Ki-hoon's team would be enough to handle it, but as a precaution, he ordered the strongest hunters to prepare for backup. Back in the boss room, the 4 most powerful orcs charged in. Iron quickly overpowered one, Igris engaged 2 at once, momentarily dropping his sword mid-fight, only for it to return to his hand instantly. Tank struck an orc so hard that it was practically erased from existence. Jinwoo smirked, remarking that his generals were stronger than the Orc Kings. The attack squad attempted to intervene, but the Orc King immobilized them, mocking them as mere side characters unworthy of the main stage. He then unleashed his full power, directing his magic at Jinwoo. However, it shattered upon impact. Jinwoo smirked, unaffected, and declared that he was immune to weak curses. Summoning his mages, he commanded them to destroy the iceberg the boss had conjured. With the power of the Orb of Avarice, their fireballs became even more destructive. A massive fireball detonated right in the Orc King's face. And that only made him furious. Ka arrived right in the middle of the chaos, swinging her mighty pickaxe, and was completely stunned by how many shadow soldiers Jinwoo had summoned. She ran up to the attack squad like, "What the hell is going on?" But even they had no idea. Meanwhile, Kargalin was done playing around. Dude combined 300 spells at once and swore he'd squash Jinwoo like a bug. He stomped down like a giant, but Jinwoo just scoffed, saying he had bad memories with huge enemies. Talk about rubbing salt in the wound. First, the boss launched a massive fireball. Then, just to make sure, he fired 50 more, wiping out the shadow soldiers and the superior orcs. The boss smirked. "Are you starting to regret it, little human?" Before he could even blink, Jinwoo was already in his face, stabbing a dagger straight into his eye. Then he hit him with the ultimate disrespect. The bigger you are, the easier you are to hit. And to top it off, he added that a mere shaman was no match for an assassin. And let's be real, Jinwoo isn't just any assassin. Dodging attacks like he was in an Indiana Jones movie, he threw 2 daggers that broke the boss's defenses and chained him up with a castle chain. Then, using Kargalin's own strength, he slammed him into the ground like a ragdoll. Meanwhile, the association's inspector finally showed up to see the action. They said they came to help, but yeah, it looked like they weren't needed anymore. Ta watched in awe, her eyes practically sparkling. "This is the power of an elite hunter, not some rank E scrub," she muttered. Then she asked, "Who even is this guy?" But even Chintul had no answer. Jinwoo just smirked. Once a mage loses his guardians, he's finished. Right on cue, the Orc King started panicking, screaming that there was no way he could lose in this body. In desperation, he started throwing his own soldiers around. But then, bam! He got slammed faceless into the ground. Game over. The last thing he saw was his former general driving a sword into his chest. And just like that, Jinwoo officially cleared the dungeon boss, earning a ton of XP and loot. Even though he soloed everything, he figured it wouldn't look great if he took all the loot for himself. But one thing he wasn't sharing: the boss's shadow. The crowd couldn't believe their eyes. That massive monster that had been terrifying everyone was now kneeling before Jinwoo. When it came time to name him, Jinwoo completely forgot the guy's actual name, so he just went with Tusk. Not only was this his first elite knight rank shadow soldier, but those superior orcs were way stronger than his usual summons. Jinwoo was so busy collecting shadows that he didn't even notice Inspector Wu standing right there. The second everyone snapped out of it, the questions started flying. But the chief quickly shut it down, saying that Hunter Sung Jinwoo's situation was top secret. He told everyone to keep quiet and made sure Jinwoo's exit was low-key. Before he could leave, Ki-hoon spoke up. He didn't ask why Jinwoo had been hiding his power. All he knew was that they were alive because of him. So he straight up thanked Jinwoo for saving his entire squad. One by one, the whole crew bowed their heads in gratitude. Jinwoo suddenly remembered, oh yeah, he still had to return that healer's journal. Meanwhile, Cha really wanted to talk to him, but before she could, a mage cut in. Vice Captain, why the pickaxe? Cha turned bright red, embarrassed. Do I look weird with this? She asked nervously. Back at the Hunters Guild HQ, Chairman Choi let out a deep sigh of relief. It all worked out. First, Jinwoo saved White Tiger, and now he saved them. But Choi still couldn't wrap his head around just how strong this kid really was. He turned to his assistant. Who do you think is stronger, him or me? The assistant didn't even hesitate. Sir, do you really think you could solo an A-rank dungeon like that? Even Choi had to admit, no chance. Their next move was clear. Do whatever it takes to recruit this kid. Later, at a cafe, Jinwoo met up with Jinyo and asked, so, how'd the negotiations with your dad go? Jinyo explained that if he wanted to lead, he had to convince Jinwoo to join the guild first. Meanwhile, at the rank evaluation building, reporters swarmed in, waiting to interview some guy named Lee Min-soon. He was already flexing about becoming an A rank, but he had no idea what was coming for him. A huge crowd of reporters had gathered, eager to catch a glimpse of Lee Min-sung. Choi and Beck arrived at the scene, surprised by the overwhelming media presence. Curious about the situation, they tried to understand what was happening. The reporters, assuming they had come for Lee Min-sung, speculated that they were there to recruit him for their guild. However, Beck had never heard of Lee Min-sung before and quickly dismissed the idea, clarifying that they had no such plans. Choi, on the other hand, acknowledged that Lee had already signed with the Phoenix Guild, but mentioned that he had come for an entirely different reason. Disappointed by this, the reporters slowly began to leave. Turning back to Choi, Beck brought up the recent incident of an A-rank dungeon suddenly turning into an S-rank 1, which must have caused serious problems. Choi agreed, admitting that while it was tough, the real trouble had fallen on the White Tiger Guild, which had sent unprepared A-rank hunters into the Red Gate. Their conversation soon shifted to Jinwoo, who had played a major role in handling the crisis. Both Choi and Beck strongly wanted to recruit him, which sparked a rivalry between them. Just as they were discussing this, someone interrupted with a joke, asking if they were fighting over Lee Min-sung instead. Annoyed, both Choi and Beck denied it. Meanwhile, Jinwoo arrived at the venue for his rank reassessment. Seeing the massive crowd, he wondered what was going on. Elsewhere, a group of Jinwoo's classmates watched Lee Min-sung's press conference on TV. As reporters began questioning him, Lee introduced himself formally, reading from a prepared script. He confidently announced that he had awakened as a hunter and would soon undergo his rank evaluation. He also stated that he would be working under Phoenix Guild's leader, Guildmaster Lim. One of the reporters asked if this meant he was quitting the entertainment industry to become a full-time hunter. Lee wasn't surprised by the question. He had already assumed he would be ranked as an A-rank hunter. Calmly, he explained that his contract with the guild was for 2 years, after which he planned to return to entertainment with a long list of accomplishments. He confidently declared that he was ready to risk his life in battle. While Lee continued speaking to the media, Jinwoo reached the entrance but was stopped by staff, who informed him that the press conference was still ongoing. Just then, Chairman Go arrived and ordered the guards to let Jinwoo inside, saying he was his guest. Turning to Lee, Chairman Go scolded him for holding a press conference after being told not to. Without waiting for a response, he led Jinwoo inside, leaving Lee fuming at the interruption. Trying to stay composed, Lee quickly apologized to the media and proceeded to his rank evaluation. However, when he reached the entrance, Chin-chul stopped him, informing him that another reassessment was already in progress and he would need to wait. Feeling entitled, Lee demanded to be let through, even threatening Chin-chul's job. But Chin-chul remained firm, warning him not to cause trouble. Lee was left speechless by the unexpected resistance. Inside the evaluation hall, Jinwoo passed by Baek and Choi, who were closely observing. Chairman Go explained that they were there to witness the results of a newly discovered S-Rank hunter, the first in 2 years. Everyone was eager to see his strength. Jinwoo was taken to a private assessment room, where officials asked him to demonstrate his abilities. Calmly, he summoned a single shadow soldier. One of the examiners asked if this was his only ability. Jinwoo acknowledged the question, but hinted that he had far more power than what they had just seen. Recalling reports about Jinwoo's skills, Chairman Go encouraged him to reveal his full strength. Left with no other choice, Jinwoo summoned his entire army of shadow soldiers. The room fell silent as everyone watched in awe. Choi was the first to react, acknowledging that Jinwoo's magic was incredibly dangerous. Baek, overwhelmed, admitted that Jinwoo was now even stronger than him. Following this shocking display, Jinwoo's rank was officially reassessed, granting him the prestigious S-Rank Hunter title. Holding his new license, he couldn't hide his excitement. Now, he could sell the Spear of Avarice and buy the gear needed for his next challenge, the Demon Castle. Chairman Go congratulated him, recognizing his potential and expecting great things from him. As Jinwoo exited the assessment room, Baek and Choi, who had been waiting for him, rushed to congratulate him. Both tried to recruit him into their guilds, but Jinwoo showed little interest, stating that he had other matters to handle. Without another word, he left, only to be surrounded by a swarm of reporters. Meanwhile, Song saw the news and was shocked. She immediately told Gina, who was equally stunned to see her brother making headlines. Others also watched in disbelief as the media announced that Jinwoo had become the 10th S-Rank hunter. Across the city, even the mining team members were speechless. Watching from home, Juhi felt proud and happy for Jinwoo. At the venue, Jinwoo found himself surrounded by reporters, struggling to handle the flood of questions and flashing cameras. All attention was now on him, leaving Lee Min-sung completely overlooked. Meanwhile, Jinwoo was having a serious conversation with his father. He admitted that he had failed to persuade Jinwoo to reconsider his decision. Thinking back to their talk, Jinwoo recalled how Jinwoo had firmly stated that he wanted to grow stronger on his own, believing that joining a guild at this point would only slow him down. Instead of joining an organization, Jinwoo had invited Jinwoo to come along on his journey. Jinwoo's father was unhappy with this choice. He reminded his son of the duties he had been given and criticized him for abandoning his responsibilities, including an important project with his brother. He questioned whether Jinwoo was making the right decision. After a brief moment of doubt, Jinyo confidently reaffirmed his choice to follow Jinwoo, even if it meant disappointing his father. Realizing that Jinyo had made up his mind, his father accepted the decision but warned him that he would now have to take full responsibility for the path he had chosen. Back at the chaotic press scene, Baek and Choi once again offered to escort Jinwoo home safely. However, Jinwoo declined. Without saying much, he vanished into the shadows, covering his face as he left. Choi was left in shock, while Baek, struggling to process Jinwoo's speed, realized that Jinwoo's abilities had far surpassed what anyone had imagined. Later, Jinwoo visited the hunter auction to buy equipment. He specifically needed something to protect himself from fire, as the dungeon he was about to enter had extreme heat. A seller showed him a cloak and a ring, but when Jinwoo asked for the price, he was shocked by how expensive they were. Hoping for a discount, he asked if the price could be lowered. The seller refused, but jokingly offered a challenge. If Jinwoo could break a reinforced magic glass, he could take any item for free. The seller confidently claimed that even an A-rank hunter couldn't break it. Jinwoo, ready to accept the challenge, started gathering his strength. Just as he was about to strike, the seller panicked and quickly stopped him, admitting that he had only been joking. Realizing this, Jinwoo paused and asked to see other items instead. As Jinwoo walks away, the seller notices something shocking. The supposedly unbreakable glass has shattered, even though Jinwoo never touched it. Jinwoo examines a dagger, but finds its price ridiculously high. Curious, he shows the seller his own dagger and asks how much it would be worth. The seller estimates it at no less than 100 million, leaving Jinwoo speechless. He originally bought it for just 2.8 million gold coins. This makes him realize that the items from the system store are far more valuable in the real world. With this knowledge, he decides not to sell the Spear of Avarice after all. Before leaving, Jinwoo asks to use the washroom. Meanwhile, Baek is deep in thought about Jinwoo. He acknowledges Jinwoo's strength, but senses that something about him is different. He wonders if Jinwoo is a special kind of hunter who keeps growing stronger. Back home, Jinna looks out the window and is relieved that no reporters are around. She happily announces that she can finally go to school. Jinwoo asks what's wrong, and she blames him, saying that if he wants to be on TV, that's fine, but he shouldn't drag her into it. Jinwoo laughs and casually mentions he'll be gone for a week, starting tomorrow. Curious, Jinna asks why. Just then, Jinwoo arrives, and Jinna asks if he's Jinwoo's friend. Jinwoo proudly calls himself Jinwoo's right-hand man. Seizing the moment, Jinwoo grabs Jinwoo and tells Jinwoo that Jinwoo will be working with him for the next week. Jinwoo is caught off guard and protests, saying they never discussed this. But Jinwoo grips him tightly, signaling him to go along with it. Jinwoo hesitantly agrees, claiming they're on an important mission. Later that night, after Jinwoo and Jinna fall asleep, Jinwoo summons his shadow soldiers to guard his sister. As he counts them, he realizes one is missing. The soldiers remind him that he accidentally destroyed one earlier. Shrugging it off, Jinwoo says the remaining 3 are strong enough. He assigns one specifically to protect Jinna. Jinwoo then moves to the rooftop and summons his entire shadow army, ordering them to patrol the area. Watching them, he wonders if he is starting to help society in his own way. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, a flying ant monster approaches. The next day, Jinwoo and Jinyo set off on their journey. Jinwoo scolds Jinyo for running away from home, but Jinyo insists it was his own choice. Curious, Jinyo asks why Jinwoo is heading to Donggun Tower, mentioning that he said he'd be away for a week. Jinwoo reveals that he's going there to train. Jinwoo simply replies that he must get even stronger. Hearing this, Jinho drops him off and leaves him to his mission. Jinwoo puts on his water-based ring and wind-based cape, preparing to enter the demon castle. A system message appears, instructing him to collect demon souls, including the soul of the demon monarch, Baron. The reward is a shadow exchange runestone. Excited, Jinwoo thinks to himself that this means a great reward awaits. He teleports to the 76th floor where he last left off. Meanwhile, at home, Jinyo's mother talks to his father, expressing surprise that Jinyo left. She asks if he feels lonely now. His father replies that he doesn't, but as he speaks, he suddenly collapses, unconscious. Jinyo's mother watches in horror. Back in the castle, a powerful demon appears. Jinwoo immediately prepares his spear and summons Fang, Tus, handing the spear to him. Fang's magical power surges and he unleashes a fire attack, reducing the demon to ashes in one strike. Surprised by Fang's strength, Jinwoo decides to let him keep the spear for now. In another scene, Jinho's mother tells his father that Jinho came to visit, but she reassured him that he only fainted from overwork. However, Jinho's father remembers the doctor's words. He has entered an eternal slumber and may never wake up. The doctor explains that people with low magic resistance who are exposed to magic for too long can develop this condition. He asks if any relatives are hunters. Jinho's father replies that his son is a hunter, but the doctor says they are not yet certain if that's the cause. Reflecting on this, Jinho's father wonders if, in a world full of magic, his complete lack of resistance means he is no longer fit for this world. Meanwhile, some hunters are patrolling when a giant ant monster suddenly appears, watching them closely. Jinwoo, now deeper in the demon castle, has defeated many demons and leveled up. He split his shadow soldiers into 6 teams and assigned them different tasks. Each team operates separately to wipe out all enemies, and once an entry permit is found, they report back to him. He knows he can't collect other items this way, but his progress is much faster. However, after 2 days on the 80th floor, something is wrong. His MP is dropping fast, meaning his soldiers are being wiped out. Realizing that his High-Orc Team A is under attack, he teleports to their location, only to find that Team B has also suffered losses. The enemy is clearly strong, but something doesn't add up. Fang's team was with Team A, so how did Team B get attacked, even though they were far away? This suggests the enemy is avoiding Fang and targeting weaker teams instead. That means they are not only strong, but also intelligent. As Jin Woo analyzes the situation, the scene shifts to a group of demons attacking his bear-like team, quickly overwhelming them. Using his stealth skill, Jin Woo observes the battle. Seeing the demon's strength, he decides it's time to intervene. One demon lunges at him, but Jin Woo swiftly dodges, spins, and kicks it away. Drawing his dagger, he eliminates multiple demons, gaining more levels. He muses to himself, he always wondered if magic beasts felt fear. Now he knows they do. Jin Woo was engaged in a fierce battle with the demon leader. Just as he was about to land the finishing blow, he suddenly heard a desperate plea. A girl's voice called out, surrendering and begging for her life. This shocked Jin Woo, as demons typically could not speak. Intrigued, he removed the demon's mask, revealing an elf-like female demon. She pleaded for forgiveness, but Jin Woo, unimpressed, pointed out the contradiction in her actions, attacking them first and now begging for mercy. He reminded her that he had already slain her allies. The girl explained that as their leader, the other demons had wanted her to survive. As Jin Woo turned to leave, she seized the opportunity to attack him from behind. However, Tusk intervened before she could land a hit. Realizing she was outmatched, she begged once again for her life. Jin Woo questioned her about the permit needed to proceed to the next floor, and she revealed that her family possessed it. She promised to hand it over in exchange for their safety, and claimed to have knowledge of permits for other floors as well. Jin Woo, skeptical of her sincerity, demanded to know if he could trust her. Terrified, she assured him that he could. Seeing her fear, Jin Woo agreed to spare her in exchange for the permit. Meanwhile, on a distant island, a terrifying ant queen left a trail of destruction. She had devoured countless people, and once satisfied, flew away, leaving behind a devastated landscape. Back in the demon castle, Jin Woo asked the demon girl for her name. She introduced herself as Esiel from the Rade family. Curious about her nature, Jin Woo inquired whether she ever heard a voice compelling her to kill humans. Esiel hesitated before admitting that while it was not a literal voice, there was something that urged them to protect the area. When Jin Woo asked how long she had been hearing it, she explained that it had been present since her arrival. Surprised by her choice of words, Jin Woo pressed further, questioning where she had been before. Esiel revealed that she once lived in the demon realm. Before she could explain further, her body suddenly stiffened, as if controlled by an unknown force. Struggling, she managed to reveal that they had been preparing for war. When Jin Woo asked who the enemy was, her voice became strained as she whispered about a powerful force that required the entire demon world to unite. Before she could say more, she collapsed from exhaustion. Jin Woo realized that the system was actively preventing her from revealing any further information. At Hunter headquarters, an emergency meeting was held regarding the Ant Queen's devastation. Reports confirmed that she had killed 294 civilians and several hunters, including C-rank and B-rank individuals. A powerful A-rank hunter had eventually been deployed to eliminate the threat, confirming that at least an A-rank hunter was required to deal with these creatures. The association chairman warned that their island was only 120 kilometers from Jeju Island. If the ants learned to fly, their first target would be the southern coastline. The urgency of the situation led to an immediate decision to contact Japan, as they faced the same threat. The fourth raid operation on Jeju Island was then announced. Back in the demon castle, Jin Woo and Isol finally arrived at her family's stronghold. The moment they stepped inside, Isol's father, the Demon King, sensed Jin Woo's hidden army. He immediately warned his daughter about the presence of numerous soldiers lurking in Jin Woo's shadow. Jinwoo was impressed by the Demon King's keen perception. The castle guards, believing Jinwoo to be a threat, drew their weapons, assuming he intended to capture Essel and take over the castle. However, Jinwoo quickly clarified that he had made a deal with Essel. If they provided him with the entry permit for the 86th floor, he would not harm anyone. The Demon King, knowing of Jinwoo's victories against powerful enemies like Vulcan and Metus, understood that resisting was futile. Reluctantly, he handed over the 86th floor permit and ordered Jinwoo to leave. Before departing, Jinwoo made it clear that he intended to take something else. The Demon King grew enraged, assuming Jinwoo meant his daughter. However, Jinwoo clarified that he simply wanted Essel to accompany him, as she possessed knowledge about all the floor permits. The Demon King, still wary, demanded reassurance of her safety. Jinwoo confidently promised that no harm would come to her. Meanwhile, at Hunter headquarters, researchers began dissecting the Ant Queen's body for analysis. The Guildmaster observed closely, assessing the threat these creatures posed. Back in the Demon Castle, Jinwoo had conquered most of the floors and had now reached the 89th level. His shadow soldiers, Igris and Tank, had grown significantly stronger, rivaling S-Rank and A-Rank hunters. Essel, preparing for the upcoming challenges, examined various items and gifts, hoping to use them as bargaining tools for the 90th floor. She suggested bringing alcohol to negotiate with the demons there. Jinwoo dismissed the idea, asserting that strength determined respect in the Demon Castle. He reasoned that if he had been weak, the demons would never have handed over the permits or negotiated in the first place. If necessary, he would simply take over by force. Curious about his intentions, Essel questioned why he had spared her family when he could have simply killed them. Jinwoo smirked and revealed that it was because he liked her. Essel, caught off guard, blushed heavily. Jinwoo, however, found her personality somewhat peculiar, but admitted to himself that he got along well with people like her. Concerned about the dangers ahead, Jinwoo advised Essel to return home. However, she refused, wanting to witness his strength firsthand and see him grow even stronger. Determined to prove herself, she insisted on accompanying him. Jinwoo accepted her decision, and as they reached the 90th floor, they encountered an increasing number of powerful beasts. The battle intensified, but Jinwoo dispatched them with ease. Meanwhile, we see Choi Jung-in meets Cha-hae and gives her information about the Jeju Island raid. He tells her that all S-Rank hunters must participate. Cha-hae realizes that this means Sung Jin-woo will also be going. Choi Jung-in confirms it. He explains that their goal is to eliminate all the ants on Jeju Island. He also mentions that they have a meeting with top-tier hunter guilds later that day. Meanwhile, Jin-woo reaches the 100th floor. A massive dragon appears, carrying Baron, the demon monarch. Baron is extremely powerful. Jin-woo senses Baron's overwhelming aura. Even Essel can feel it. Jin-woo begins to doubt whether he can defeat him. Baron is even more dangerous because he rides a wyvern named Kaiseline. Jin-woo realizes that Baron can control both demons and dragons. Baron summons multiple portals. Demons emerge from them and surround Jin-woo and Essel. Essel becomes terrified. The demons charge forward. Jin-woo activates his monarch's domain and summons his shadow soldiers. A fierce battle begins. Essel is shocked by Jin-woo's power. She realizes he is much stronger than she imagined. However, she is conflicted. She is a demon, and Baron is the Demon King. She wonders if she should side with her king or with Jin-woo, an outsider. According to the rules, she should kill Jin-woo. Baron has a terrifying ability. He can release lightning from his mouth, creating an electrical storm. It causes massive damage to the shadow soldiers. A bolt of lightning is about to hit Essel. Jin-woo shields her with his cape. He realizes that this lightning is extremely powerful. If he gets hit again, he will lose all his mana. He decides to attack the wyvern's wings to bring Baron down. Jin-woo moves forward using his stealth mode. He plans to cut off the wyvern's wings. However, Baron predicts his attack and easily sees through it, even though Jin-woo is invisible. Baron then launches dangerous homing attacks that keep chasing Jin-woo. At that moment, Igris and Tusk try to help. Tusk creates a massive fireball with his orb, while Igris throws his sword to bring down the wyvern. However, they are both struck down, and Jin-woo falls to the ground. Finally, Baron also lands on the ground. Jinwoo smirks and says that it's a good thing Baron has come down, because watching from above for so long had made him really tired. Meanwhile, at the Hunter Association, the Drawn Sword Guild arrives. A woman named Hanekawa introduces Goto Ryuji, the guildmaster. Gogun-hee explains that Japan's largest guild has arrived. Their aura is intimidating. The guild consists of many S-rank hunters, making them one of the strongest in Asia. They begin discussing strategies for the Jeju Island raid. Hanekawa shares two key details about the ants. The first is their lifespan. Ants grow rapidly, but only live for a short time. If the queen is killed, all the ants will die soon after. The second is their attack pattern. In previous raids, they observed that ants always target the strongest hunters first. Using this information, they form a strategy. Japan's rank hunters will distract the ants, while South Korea's team will eliminate the queen. However, this plan is extremely risky. Thousands of ants will swarm the hunters. Goto Ryuji assures them that they can handle it. Back at the Demon Castle, Jinwoo and his shadow soldiers continue battling Baron. Baron's lightning attacks devastate the battlefield. Jinwoo struggles to recover his mana. Baron grabs Jinwoo by the head and lifts him off the ground, preparing to strike. At that moment, Igris and Taskuroda intervene. They give Jinwoo a chance to regain control. Now, Jinwoo and Baron face off in a one-on-one fight. Baron pulls out two daggers. The battle becomes intense. Jinwoo's daggers are knocked away. He is forced to block with his bare hands. Baron unleashes another lightning attack. However, Esil throws her spear at Baron, distracting him. Jinwoo seizes the opportunity to use Ruler's authority. He gathers all his strength and rips off Baron's arms. Then, he lands a devastating punch that destroys Baron's face. A massive explosion of energy follows. Jinwoo has finally defeated Baron. He receives a notification allowing him to extract Baron's soul. However, Jinwoo is completely exhausted. After fighting through so many floors, he collapses from fatigue. Before leaving, he tells Esil to go home and inform her father that the Radir family now rules the Demon Castle. Esil gets emotional and corrects him, saying it's pronounced Radai-ro, not Radir. Jinwoo begins crafting the Elixir of Life. He notices that the success rate and quantity of the elixir depend on the intelligence level of the player. Seeing this, Jinwoo becomes a little nervous and starts doubting whether he will be able to successfully create the Elixir of Life. However, he still tries and finally begins crafting it, praying that it works. At that moment, we see that the elixir is finally completed. Seeing this, Jinwoo is overjoyed because now he can use it to awaken his mother from her eternal slumber. Despite his excitement, he remains slightly nervous, wondering if the elixir will truly work and heal his mother. Just then, Iron brings the dead body of the dragon before Jinwoo. Using his power, Arise! Jinwoo adds the dragon to his Shadow Monarch army, shocking Esil. After this, the system prompts Jinwoo to name the dragon. However, he struggles to remember its original name, so he decides to name it Kajal. The dragon seems to like the name, and Esil, feeling happy, remarks that they can now reach home quickly. She excitedly suggests celebrating with a party upon their return, mentioning that her father will also be pleased. However, Jinwoo is lost in his thoughts, eager to witness the immediate effect of the elixir. At that moment, he remembers that he has a runestone in his inventory, which he can use to exit easily. As he checks it, he discovers that he has also received a job-exclusive skill as a reward, Shadow Exchange. This skill allows Jinwoo to swap places with one of his shadow soldiers, but can only be used once every 3 hours. He decides to use it to return home. Apologizing to Esil, he tells her that she will have to return alone. Saying this, Jinwoo begins to leave, telling her that if fate allows, they will meet again. Just as he is about to depart, Esil shyly attempts to say something, but before she can, Jinwoo vanishes, leaving her feeling a little disappointed. In the next scene, we see that Jinwoo has finally returned to his country. He swaps places with a shadow soldier who is patrolling the area. Realizing that his house is still some distance away, he calls upon Kajal, mounts the dragon, and heads home comfortably. Meanwhile, we see President Go discussing a plan to lure the ants out using the hunter's magical power as bait. Once the ants are out, they will use a special interference wave to disrupt their sensory communication. Taking advantage of this, their special forces will infiltrate the nest and assassinate the queen ant. However, Chin-chul raises a concern. Will the interference wave work as expected? President Go admits that he is also a bit anxious, but reassures them that their investigation results were highly accurate. Additionally, they have prepared a retreat plan in case of failure. He then asks Chin-chul if he has been able to contact Jinwoo, to which Chin-chul replies negatively. In the following scene, we see Min, who is a friend of Baek. They are out for drinks, and Baek introduces Min as an S-rank healer, one of the few hunters in the world who retired at a young age without a single injury. Baek tells him that he considers Min his life and death companion. Manabu then asks Min if he really plans to return to Jeju Island, reminding him of the horrors they witnessed there. Baek also recalls the tragic death of their friend In-soo. Remembering this, Baek confirms that he is indeed going to Jeju Island, stating that if the ant monsters continue to roam freely, the entire country will suffer and countless lives will be lost. Min, however, refuses to join, saying that if Baek came to invite him, he must decline. Baek clarifies that he is not here to invite Min but to say goodbye, as they might never meet again. Hearing this, Min falls silent. After a moment, he confesses that he plans to take the civil service exam because he does not want to witness any more deaths. He wants to become a civil servant, but history is his weak subject, so he is unsure if he will pass. However, he is determined to try and live a normal life. Hearing this, Baek reflects that those without normal lives are hunters, for whom fighting is just a routine. The next scene shifts back to Jinwoo, who has finally reached the hospital where his mother is. As he looks at her, he notices a burn mark on the back of her neck, which reminds him of an incident from his childhood when he accidentally spilled hot water on her. Despite this, his mother never scolded him. Instead, she had comforted him, ignoring her own pain. Now, Jinwoo takes out the elixir of life, thinking to himself that he has no idea if it will truly work. However, after witnessing many miracles of the system, he believes in it. With this faith, he opens the elixir and gently lifts his mother, preparing to give it to her. His hands tremble with nervousness, but he gathers his courage and finally makes her drink it. Afterward, he carefully lays her back down and waits anxiously. Suddenly, his mother begins to glow, shocking Jinwoo. But just as quickly as the glow appears, it vanishes, making him panic. He mentally pleads with his mother to wake up, reminding her that he has fought and become strong just for her sake. Meanwhile, his sister Gina is shown struggling to focus on her studies, so she goes out shopping. After leaving the store, she notices that the air outside feels unusually warm and pleasant. Back in the hospital, Jinwoo opens his eyes and is left speechless. Overwhelmed with emotion, he sees that his mother has finally awakened. Though he looks slightly different, she recognizes him immediately, asking, "You are Jinwoo, right? How long have I been asleep?" Jinwoo, teary-eyed, replies, "You were asleep for 4 years." His mother then asks about Gina, and Jinwoo reassures her that she is doing well. Hearing this, his mother expresses her gratitude, telling Jinwoo that he has fulfilled his promise and matured a lot. She notices his injuries and asks if he is okay, suspecting that he must have gone through a lot. Hearing this, Jinwoo becomes even more emotional and remembers everything he endured for his mother. He tries to hold back his tears but ultimately fails. Crying, he tells his mother not to worry, assuring her that he is fine. Seeing him cry, his mother also becomes emotional, and they embrace each other in a heartfelt reunion. Now, the morning scene is shown where the doctors are extremely shocked to learn that the patient, Jinwoo's mother, has woken up from terminal slumber. Another doctor mentions that the family wants the patient to be discharged as soon as possible. One thing I forgot to mention is that the burn scar on Jinwoo's mother's back has completely disappeared. In the next scene, Gina arrives to see her mother and, overjoyed to see her awake, hugs her tightly. Overwhelmed with emotion, Gina starts crying. Seeing this, Jinwoo also feels happy and says, "After all this time and effort, I have finally received my reward." In the following scene, we see Go attending an interview. He thanks all the reporters for gathering there and informs them that disasters are happening nationwide due to the winged ants coming from Jeju Island. In response, the Hunter Association has decided to launch the 4th Jeju Island raid mission. This time, not only will domestic S-rank hunters be involved, but 10 S-rank hunters from Japan will also participate. Hunters ranked A and below will serve as support, defend the homeland, and protect other team members during operations. He emphasizes that this time, they will be successful. Min is also listening to all this and recalls a past scene where he, Insak, and Beck were drinking together. Beck was so drunk that he passed out. Min confesses to Insak that he is scared of going on the raid. Insak replies that he is also afraid, but those who cannot fight are even more terrified. That's why they must fight and eliminate the ants to protect the people of their country. At that moment, a drunken Beck wakes up and boldly declares that he will destroy all enemies with his own hands. Hearing this, Insak remarks that they should be more worried about Beck since his personality and abilities are both dangerous. He adds that only he and Min can handle Beck. In the next scene, Jinwoo's mother finally arrives home, but she notices that Gina has turned the house into a mess. Seeing this, Jinwoo is about to scold Gina, but before he can say anything, their mother suggests that they all clean up together. They agree and start tidying up the house as a team. Their mother then comments that the house has grown quite old, to which Gina responds that it's because they've been living there since childhood. Watching them, Jinwoo feels a bit disconnected. He reflects, "This is the moment I've been longing for, but now that I have it, I feel uneasy. Have I crossed a line as a hunter that I shouldn't have?" As he is lost in thought, his mother looks at a family photo and asks Jinwoo if his father has contacted him. Jinwoo replies, no. His mother then mentions that she heard he has become a hunter. She reminisces that, before becoming a hunter, Jinwoo's father was a firefighter, and she married him because she found it cool how he risked his life to save people. She then tells Jinwoo that he is just like his father. Hearing this, Jinwoo feels happy. Gina chimes in, saying that she is studying to become a doctor so she can heal people, which makes their mother proud. Suddenly, Jinwoo receives a call. It's from Gentle. In the next scene, Go is seen leaving the press conference. He expresses his surprise, saying he never expected Thomas Andre to attend. In response, Jinchul explains that Thomas Andre is an S-Rank National Authority hunter from America. Go says he never expected someone as powerful as Thomas, whose strength is equivalent to an entire national military, to come and offer help. Usually someone like him only intervenes in foreign operations. Go wonders whether Thomas came to inform them about Hunter Huang or for another reason. Just then, Jinchul informs him that they have made contact with Jinwoo and that he will be arriving soon. In the next scene, Jinwoo arrives, and Go tells him that they will leave for the raid in 4 days. He emphasizes that making this mission successful is their biggest goal and asks Jinwoo if he will help them. Jinwoo thinks to himself that he can use this opportunity to level up and should not let it go to waste. Just as he is about to respond, he suddenly senses a terrifying presence, which shocks even Go. The tension in the air is palpable as Go acknowledges Jinwoo's ability to sense the overwhelming energy from afar. He explains that the immense power belongs to S-Rank hunters, currently training in the gym, hinting that Jinwoo might find it worthwhile to observe them in action. The scene shifts to the gym, where Beck is engaged in a fierce sparring session. His opponent, Ma Dong-wook of the Fame Guild, maneuvers skillfully, forcing Beck to the ground. With a firm stance, he critiques Beck's form, pointing out weaknesses in his back and legs. Beck, brushing off the remark, casually mentions that he's nothing more than an office worker these days, with little time for training. Yet, despite his words, he immediately rises, ready to continue the fight. Jinwoo watches with quiet interest, noting that it's rare to see so many S-Rank hunters gathered in one place. The surge of magical energy he sensed earlier undoubtedly belongs to them. His focus sharpens as Beck struggles against his opponent, seemingly at a disadvantage. Before he can dwell on it, Choi approaches and comments that if Beck unleashed his full strength, the match would already be over. He explains that Ma Dong-wook is a formidable fighter from the Fame Guild, but Beck is holding back deliberately, unwilling to reveal his true power in front of so many onlookers. If Beck were to fight seriously, he would transform into something far beyond human, a true monster. Jinwoo's mind races at the confirmation of rumors regarding Transformation T hunters. Choi then gestures toward another group, introducing them as the Night Guild. The atmosphere shifts as a new presence enters the scene. Goto Ryuji and Japan's elite S-Rank hunters arrive, exuding an undeniable aura of dominance. Among them, a female hunter curiously observes Jinwoo and inquires about his identity. A translator explains that he is Sung Jinwoo, a recently ranked S-Rank hunter. Goto assesses him with a keen eye, initially assuming Jinwoo to be an assassin. However, the girl corrects him, revealing that Jinwoo is, in fact, a mage. Goto's expression tightens as he senses the dangerous energy radiating from Jinwoo, realizing just how formidable he truly is. Meanwhile, Lim takes notice of Jinwoo's presence, instantly recognizing him as the one who humiliated Min-soon. The weight of their past encounter lingers in the air, adding another layer of tension. Back in the sparring match, Ma Dong-wook throws a devastating punch, aiming to end the fight. But Baek stands his ground, blocking the attack with ease. The Japanese hunters watch, their expressions unreadable. One of them scoffs, unimpressed, questioning whether these fighters truly represent Korea's top forces. The female hunter remains skeptical, having witnessed Goto's battles firsthand. To her, these so-called S-Rank hunters seem underwhelming. Her words do not go unnoticed. A Korean hunter, Pak Jung, the guild master of the Night Guild, steps forward to confront her. With sharp confidence, he challenges her blatant disrespect. Unfazed, the girl nonchalantly dismisses him, claiming she has never even heard of his name. As the tension escalates, Lim and Cha Hae-in arrive, demanding an explanation. Park relays the insult directed at them, fueling the already heated atmosphere. Seizing the moment, Goto proposes an idea, a friendly match between the strongest hunters present. Only S-Rank hunters will participate. A silent agreement passes through the room. Park, eager to prove his strength, steps forward to accept the challenge. Goto allows him to decide the rules, and Park, without hesitation, outlines the conditions. A new voice interrupts. Another hunter declares that mages should be excluded from the battle. Only combat Yum hunters should be allowed to participate. Goto acknowledges this suggestion, and Baek, unaffected, agrees. The rules are set, a full contaminant brawl where victory is achieved by forcing an opponent to the ground, seizing their wrist, or landing a decisive strike to the waist. This will not be a series of one-on-one duels. It will be an all-out clash. The teams are formed, representing Korea, Lim, Cha Hae-in, Baek, and Ma Dong-wook. Representing Japan, Ta, Wata, Kuna, Moto, Hoshino, and Tatanka. The room grows silent as both sides take their positions. A moment of anticipation lingers in the air. The battle is about to begin. Inside the dome, Sung Jinwoo observes the ongoing match, noticing that the leader of the Japanese team is staying out of the fight. This gives him a chance to see a battle between top-ranked hunters unfold. One of the Korean hunters, Dong-wook, uses an ability that makes him grow in size, declaring that the real competition is about to start. As the fight begins, Baek moves to stop an opponent attempting to flank his team, while a powerhouse from the Korean side exchanges heavy blows with a Japanese fighter, creating shockwaves with each hit. Lim, another Korean hunter, faces an opponent who specializes in speed. He tries to keep his distance, knowing he isn't suited for close combat. When an opening appears, he fires his ranged attacks, narrowly missing a target before Hoshino intervenes, preventing further damage. Watching the battle unfold, Choi worries about the arena's durability and asks the president if it's reinforced with strong magic. Go reassures him that it is, but it's clear that even the best reinforcements are struggling against the raw power on display. Meanwhile, Baek sizes up his opponent, realizing the Japanese hunters are among the strongest their country has to offer. He transforms into his monstrous state, attacking aggressively, but his opponent manages to evade every move. From the way things are playing out, Baek assumes that Atsushi Kumamoto isn't suited for direct combat and is instead testing the battlefield. Kumamoto, on the other hand, understands he barely avoided Baek's last strike and acknowledges that brawling isn't his specialty. Baek glances at Goto Ryuji, suspecting he is evaluating his subordinates to see if they are ready for future battles. Determined to give him an answer, Baek evolves into a stronger form and resumes his relentless pursuit. However, despite his overwhelming power, Kumamoto keeps dodging every attack. Meanwhile, Park Jung-soo watches from the audience. realizing that as a rank lower than these elites, he wouldn't last long in a fight of this caliber, even as his subordinate tries to encourage him otherwise. Elsewhere in the ring, Ma Dongwook has already been defeated and Lim is subdued by Hoshino, bringing their duel to an end. Beak continues to dominate his fight, but Kumamoto remains frustratingly out of reach. The Japanese team's two victorious fighters move in to support their teammate, standing in Beak's way. Meanwhile, Chahi is engaged in a rapid exchange with her opponent, keeping them at bay with her speed. After landing a solid hit, she realizes she needs to hurry and assist Beak. However, before she can move, Kumamoto suddenly appears behind her. Reacting swiftly, she lands an attack that draws blood, but something changes in her opponent. His eyes glow red with an almost monstrous intensity. Outside the ring, Kumamoto's allies discuss the situation, uncertain of what might happen if he continues in this state. One of them suggests pulling him out of the fight, but Ryuji decides against it, not wanting to interfere. With his growing aggression, Kumamoto launches a devastating attack, striking the ground with such force that the explosion of debris blinds his opponents. Using the cover of dust and smoke, he attempts a surprise assault on Chayi. Before the situation escalates further, Jinwoo steps in, stopping the fight before it turns into something far worse. Despite this, Kumamoto, still consumed by his rage, charges at Jinwoo. With minimal effort, Jinwoo counters the attack and effortlessly subdues him. Observing this, Ryuji realizes that he needs to see for himself just how powerful Jinwoo truly is. With the Japanese fighter neutralized, Jinwoo turns to Chahi and suggests they concede, considering Beak has already given up. Acknowledging the outcome, she calmly accepts the loss. Beak, meanwhile, reflects on the battle, realizing that even if he had gone all out, he wouldn't have stood a chance against his opponents. Shortly after, Henkawa approaches Jinwoo with a message. His master, Goto Ryuji, is requesting a duel. Jinwoo immediately senses the intensity of Ryuji's fighting spirit and sees this as the perfect opportunity to test his strength after his experiences in the Demon Castle. Ryuji, however, grows irritated when he notices the slight smile on Jinwoo's face, realizing that the young hunter is looking forward to the challenge. The interpreter confirms that the Korean hunter has accepted the challenge, but only if Goto fights with full strength. Meanwhile, a news broadcast reports that the fourth raid on Jeju Island is approaching. Lee Jo-hee watches the report, and someone nearby asks if she plans to work, but she mentions she has the day off. Despite this, the woman insists that hunters are busy preparing for the raid and shouldn't remain idle. Afterward, Lee Jo-hee steps onto the balcony to make a call about the defense forces for the upcoming mission. Back in the training room, Lim Tae-jeo questions what will happen next, and Dongwook explains that the renowned 10th rankled hunter will face the master swordsman. Chahi recalls seeing Jinwoo fight in an A-rank dungeon before, but she isn't sure if he's prepared for a battle at this level. Beak asks if she feels uneasy being surrounded by hunters, but she responds that one cannot avoid danger forever on the battlefield. In fact, she considers stopping the fight, and Beak agrees that while he usually enjoys seeing a match between a fighter and a caster, something feels different this time. He begins to suspect that Jinwoo isn't an ordinary hunter. If he is someone who grows stronger over time, then anything could happen. With everything set, Jinwoo signals his readiness. Goto wastes no time and immediately attempts to strike his opponent's face, but Jinwoo dodges at the last moment, making it clear he isn't an easy target. Feeling the power radiating from the young hunter, Goto starts to doubt that Jinwoo is merely a mage. Regardless, he intends to find out for himself. Moving with even greater speed, he launches an aggressive attack. Jinwoo acknowledges that his opponent is stronger than most S-rank hunters, but he isn't fast enough to land a clean hit. Frustrated by the confidence in Jinwoo's expression, Goto increases the intensity of his strikes. Lim admits he can't keep up with the speed of the battle, while Dongwook notes that the young hunter must be incredibly skilled to dodge such attacks. Chaye observes that Jinwoo isn't just avoiding the blows, he is studying his opponent's movements. As the exchange continues, Goto takes a step back and realizes that his opponent looks too relaxed. Annoyed by this, he changes tactics and activates a powerful ability that engulfs his fist in flames. Moving faster than before, he swings at Jinwoo, and the force of the attack makes Chayi momentarily worry for his safety. However, when the dust settles, Jinwoo has blocked the strike without much effort. He even appears amused, hinting that he could have ended the fight already if he had chosen to. Rather than finishing things quickly, both fighters create distance and gather an immense amount of mana. Their subordinates realize that the fight is no longer a simple sparring match. It has turned into a true battle of strength. Beak begins to fear that someone might not walk away from this unscathed. However, neither Jinwoo nor Goto seem willing to stop. Just as they prepare to clash with full force, Beak and Chahi intervene, grabbing Jinwoo, while the Japanese team restrains their master. The fight is on the verge of spiraling out of control, and Beak quickly orders Henkawa to make Goto stop. Once the battle is halted, Dongwook jokes that Jinwoo took on one of the strongest hunters and walked away with barely a scratch. Jinwoo, on the other hand, reflects on the risks he took but is satisfied that he now has a better understanding of everyone's strength. More importantly, he managed to plant his shadow soldiers into 5 of them without being noticed. As the Japanese guild prepares to leave, Gogunhee informs Goto that he will send details about the hunters participating in the upcoming raid. Afterward, the association's president privately speaks with Jinwoo about the Jeju Island mission. Meanwhile, Gohu contacts a man named Raiji and informs him about a powerful hunter he encountered. The name of this hunter is Jinwoo Sung, who has recently been promoted to S-Rank. However, Raiji finds it odd that Jinwoo's name isn't listed for the Jeju Island raid, which surprises Goto as well. Similarly, Chai discusses the situation with Master Choi, noting that Jinwoo won't be joining the mission. Though Choi assumes the young hunter has his reasons, he believes something must be done about it. As the discussion about the upcoming mission continues, Beak notices that Byung-gu is also not participating. Choi assesses the situation and determines that there are still 15 S-Rank hunters available, making victory seem likely. As night falls, Jinwoo returns home, where his mother and sister have prepared dinner. Smiling, he announces his arrival. During the meal, Jinwoo reflects on how his mother woke up from a coma after 4 years. He realizes she needs him, which is why he chooses not to join the Jeju Island raid. Meanwhile, on the island, the queen ant struggles with her subjects devouring each other due to a lack of prey. Recognizing that this cannot continue, she decides to leave the island. However, for this to happen, she needs a stronger heir to lead the colony. A new creature hatches from an egg, undergoing a mutation that reshapes its body, giving it a more human-like appearance with 2 arms and 2 legs. The queen urges it to grow stronger, and the newborn lets out a chilling scream, unleashing a powerful wave of mana. Back in the city, the next day, a TV broadcast reports that the ants on Jeju Island have evolved at an alarming rate. Previously confined to the ground, they now possess humanoid traits and wing. As Min Byung walks through the streets, he sees children pretending to be S-Rank hunters. Nearby in a cafe, Yu Jun-woo tries to persuade Han Song-yi not to join the defense force, as she is still an E-rank hunter. The city's public announcement system calls for hunters to help defend Korea. Elsewhere, Lee Jo-hee encounters Song Chol. As night approaches, Go Gun-hee eagerly anticipates the mission's commencement. At dawn, the raid begins, with ships arriving at the mission site. On board, a Knights Guild member questions whether they can truly handle the ants. Their leader, Park Jung-soo, states that they will only know once they fight, but their presence is as a backup in case of an emergency. A separate guild arrives by helicopter, and their leader, Ma Dong-wook, bids farewell to his vice master before heading into battle. Min Sun, as usual, attracts media attention, while Lim demands he be brought back before causing trouble. The faces of the hunters in the attack fleet and the Coastal Guard reflect concern as they gather with the association's president. Jinchul reports that all units are ready. Go Gun-hee expresses relief that so many hunters volunteered and is pleased that a certain individual has decided to join the operation. Beak is surprised to see Byung-gi approaching, and the two friends greet each other warmly. At the island's center, elite teams Alpha Bravo and Charlie Swordbearers take their positions, being airlifted to their designated locations. The association's hunters notice that a media crew has been sent to document the battle. Dong-wook asks if the cameraman will be safe, but he assures them he is used to filming in dangerous conditions. Ma Dong-wook hopes this will be the final S-Rank raid on Jeju Island, Otherwise, the country could be at serious risk. Beak silently agrees, believing that a national hero must emerge from this fight. Jinchul informs Go Gunhee that the attack team is ready and the 4th Jeju Island raid officially begins. Meanwhile, Goto Ryoji commands the diversionary force to use their full strength. The sheer amount of mana released amazes Beak, who watches from a helicopter. Ants start emerging from the nest, prompting Choi to launch an attack, blowing them apart. However, the number of ants seems endless, forcing him to intensify his efforts. Once the immediate threat is cleared, he asks if it is time to land. As the helicopter touches down, Beak estimates that the Japanese hunters can keep the ants distracted for an hour, giving the Koreans enough time to eliminate the queen. From the operations center, Ryuji orders interference to block the queen's ability to summon reinforcements. During the battle, a hunter warns that Kumamoto will die if he remains paralyzed with fear. A Japanese woman suggests wiping out all the ants at once, while another hunter asks about Kenzo's whereabouts. Meanwhile, Kenzo is gleefully smashing insects on his own. Elsewhere, a Japanese hunter observes smoke from Choi's attack and asks his partner if he could defeat Choi in a duel despite his ice-based abilities. Choi and his team move forward, sealing the nest's entrance. The complex network of tunnels creates confusion, but Choi conjures a fireball to safely scout ahead. They need to find the deepest tunnel leading to the queen's chamber. Beak suspects a specific path might be the correct one. Back in the city, Jinwoo completes his daily exercise, feeling at ease. He trusts the S-Rank hunters to handle the ants even in his absence. Meanwhile, inside the tunnels, Lim wonders if the queen has fled, but Beak dismisses the idea, noting that she has no escape route. Choi calls his comrades to inspect an egg chamber, making them believe the queen is nearby. They soon discover a massive egg, which unsettles the team. Meanwhile, Kenzo is injured and asks Shimizu, the team's healer, for help. Before she can respond, something suddenly strikes, and her head is torn off in an instant. Seeing this, Kenzo and another hunter were terrified. They immediately prepared to fight the monster that had attacked Shimizu. Just as Kenzo was about to strike, his head was also sliced off. Another hunter, witnessing this horror, rushed towards the monster to attack it. However, before he could even draw his sword, the monster struck him down as well. Within seconds, some of Japan's strongest S-Rank hunters were wiped out. Meanwhile, we shift to the Korean hunters inside the same tunnel. They were fighting fiercely against powerful ant monsters. One of them commented that these ants were as strong as S-Rank hunters. But despite their strength, the hunters believed they wouldn't lose, as they were human warriors fighting against magical beasts. Encouraged by this, they continued battling. Another hunter, Cha Hae-in, was also seen attacking the ants with incredible speed. She noted that these ants were highly durable. Ma agreed but reassured her that the number of ants in this area wasn't too high. Min assured them that if more ants appeared, he would help handle them. Ye-sun then teased Min, saying he seemed very confident now, even though he was scared before arriving here. Min denied being afraid and instead focused on eliminating the ants. As they kept moving forward, they realized that the deeper they went, the stronger the ants became. It seemed like they were approaching the queen ant's guards. Jose and Kaleem wondered if they were heading in the right direction. Cha Hae-in, using her enhanced senses, confirmed that a powerful magic beast lay ahead. Choi speculated that Beck should be able to sense it too. Beck used his abilities to scan the area ahead and confirmed that the Ant Queen was indeed deep inside the chamber, surrounded by her elite guards. While they couldn't determine her exact rank, they knew she would be extremely powerful. However, if they fought together as a team, they were confident they could win. As they advanced, another team of hunters, including Kei and Aizawa, arrived to check on their squad since they had lost contact. However, they were shocked to discover their comrades' dead bodies. Kei was overwhelmed by a powerful energy, causing him to vomit. He had never sensed such a terrifying presence before. Overcome with fear, he instinctively used his ice powers excessively, trapping himself in ice. Shortly after, a monstrous ant appeared and killed him. Meanwhile, other hunters also realized they couldn't contact their teammates. As they went to search for them, they were ambushed by even more monsters, forcing them into battle. In another scene, the Korean hunters finally reached the Queen Ant's chamber. However, an army of ant monsters stood in their way, Min used his abilities to boost his allies' power, making them stronger and ready for battle. Ma stepped forward first, distracting the ants, while Choi unleashed a powerful fire attack, burning many of them instantly. Choi admitted he usually held back but felt no need to do so this time. Baek agreed and decided to fight with his full strength, triggering his beast transformation. Now, in his transformed state, Baek became even faster and stronger, tearing through the ants. Seeing this, Choi was astonished by Baek's power. Meanwhile, a cameraman was recording the entire battle live. He was informed that the viewership had reached 80%, and they asked him to move closer for a better shot. However, Min warned him that going further would be dangerous, so the cameraman decided to stay back and continue recording from a safe distance. People in Japan and Korea were watching the fight unfold in real time. In the next scene, Ma was surrounded by a large number of ants. Without hesitation, he began his attack, taking them down one by one. Meanwhile, Lim used his bow to fire magical arrows, swiftly eliminating many monsters in a single strike. Cha Hae-in too fought at an incredible speed, slaughtering multiple ant monsters. Her impressive combat skills earned her praise from the people watching the broadcast. Finally, the hunters worked together and successfully defeated all the ant monsters. And now only the queen remains. Seeing this, Ma starts fighting her and tells his companions, "Let's finish this." Meanwhile, Lima sneaks up from behind and launches a series of powerful attacks on the queen. Soon after, Baek arrives and unleashes a relentless barrage of punches on her. The queen, enraged by this, counterattacks with immense fury, injuring both Baek and Ma severely. They are on the brink of being defeated when, suddenly, Min uses healing magic on them, rapidly restoring their strength. Seeing this, everyone is left in shock. Min then declares, "As long as I am here, you have nothing to fear." Hearing this, Choi steps forward and launches a massive fire attack directly at the queen. However, despite the explosion, the queen remains unharmed. But then, she lets out a deafening scream. Witnessing this, Baek wonders, is she calling for help? Moments later, they see the queen trying to escape. However, before she can get away, the hunters intercept her and keep her from fleeing. They distract her while directing Chahin to go for the final blow. Min enhances Chahin's abilities, doubling her speed. Chahin dashes toward the queen at incredible speed and uses her sword to sever all of the queen's legs, rendering her immobile. After that, Chahin soars into the sky, enlarges her sword, and delivers a powerful, spinning slash to the queen's neck. The impact is so intense that the queen's head is severed, marking her end. Watching this, all the spectators following the battle via live stream erupt in celebration. Everyone rejoices at the queen's defeat. Even Chairman Go expresses his delight, saying, "That means the raid was successful." Min exclaims, "We've won! Since the queen is dead, any remaining ants will die on their own within a year." Baek, still puzzled, recalls the queen's final scream and begins to voice his concern. But before he can finish, Min embraces him, saying, "Forget it! We won! We avenged our fallen comrades." The other hunters join in the celebration, relieved that their hard-fought battle has finally ended. However, in another scene, Rage appears with urgent news. "Bad news! The ants are returning to the nest." He informs Goto that the signal interference has ended. Hearing this, Goto is alarmed, wondering what is going on. Choi soon realizes that the fire barrier he had set up has been broken, allowing the ants to re-enter. Lima, confused, says, "How is this possible? We should still have time left." Chahin speculates, could the queen's scream have summoned reinforcements? However, she is still doubtful, saying, "Even so, the ants shouldn't have been able to break through Choi's technique. Then how did they get inside?" Just then, Baek senses something approaching. He warns everyone to be on guard. Suddenly, an overwhelming and terrifying presence fills the air. The ant monster arrived, its presence radiating a powerful energy. Baek recognized it immediately and wondered why a black ant was there. Suddenly, an intense aura spread from the monster, overwhelming Chahin. She lost her ability to smell, and its sheer presence was unlike anything she had sensed before. Alarmed, she realized it wasn't an ordinary magical beast. Ma, unwilling to waste time, urged them to attack. However, before he could strike, he felt as if the monster had hit him. In reality, it hadn't. It simply ignored him and passed by. leaving Ma in shock. The monster headed straight for the queen and, to everyone's horror, devoured her. As it consumed her, it let out a deafening screech and grew even more powerful. Its speed increased dramatically. Before Chihine could react, it struck her with overwhelming force, sending her flying and leaving her critically injured. Enraged, Ma grew in size and charged at the monster. However, the ant easily shattered his shield and broke his arm. Despite the pain, Ma attempted another attack, but the monster grabbed his remaining arm and crushed it as well. As the monster walked away, Beck rushed in to attack, only to be struck down in a single blow. It then turned to Choi, who prepared to unleash a fire attack. However, the monster intercepted and injured him. Desperate, Lim fired an arrow, but the monster caught it with ease. Before he could react, the monster dashed toward him and landed a powerful punch, knocking him to the ground. Just as it prepared another attack, Ma suddenly intervened, striking the monster and knocking it back. Now fully healed, Ma smirked and credited their skilled healer. Elsewhere, Min the healer remained camouflaged while treating Ma. However, using this ability prevented him from moving. He reassured himself that as long as his team held on, he didn't need to move. Meanwhile, Ma launched a relentless assault, but the monster dodged every strike. It then grabbed Ma's legs and slammed him into the ground repeatedly, severely injuring him. Min struggled to heal him quickly enough. Suddenly, despite being camouflaged, Min realized the monster had detected him. Within moments, it lunged at him. Beck watched in horror as the monster attacked Min. Barely able to speak, Min told Beck to run. Before he could finish, the monster devoured him. The remaining warriors, injured and exhausted, were powerless to stop it. Furious, Beck charged at the monster, but it threw Min's lifeless body at him, knocking him back. Then, gripping Beck's neck, the monster forced him out of his transformed state. To everyone's shock, the monster mimicked Min's voice and told Beck to run. Filled with rage, Beck attacked again, but the monster remained calm. It declared that the warriors were weak and had killed its queen. There was no point in slaughtering mere soldiers. Instead, it demanded to know the location of their king. Sensing a powerful presence in the distance, the monster muttered about the strength it felt. Without another word, it vanished at lightning speed, heading straight for Goto. Beck realized the monster was after Goto, but knew they had no time to think about it. They needed to escape. Just as he said this, he noticed an overwhelming number of ant monsters approaching. Meanwhile, Goto, investigating the situation, found that none of the teams were responding. Sensing something was wrong, he ordered Bravo Team to wait at the endpoint while he advanced alone. Upon reaching the battlefield, Goto noticed traces of ice magic. Moving cautiously, he discovered the corpses of fallen hunters, his own comrades. His walkie-talkie crackled and a voice demanded why he hadn't checked in. Goto reported that there was a problem. The operator, from Joseon, inquired about the signal effectiveness. Goto explained that the signals had weakened, causing all the ants to retreat into their nest. The Joseon operator then asked about the chances of the hunters' survival. Goto, realizing the overwhelming size of the ant army, solemnly concluded that their survival chances were 0. Hearing this, the operator acknowledged that even if they used all their strength, their forces wouldn't be enough. However, they would honor the fallen warrior's sacrifice. The team decided to send the second strike team, which was waiting in the sea. No matter what, they were determined to complete the Jeju Island raid. This mission would bring honor to their country by proving that they had conquered an S-rank gate. After giving the orders, the leader instructed all hunters to withdraw and move forward with the second strike team. Goto agreed and informed his teammates that the chairman had given orders for them to pull out immediately. He also mentioned that they needed to collect the bodies before leaving. As they were about to leave, the same ant monster reappeared and launched an attack on Goto. However, Goto successfully blocked the attack with his sword. The monster then turned its attention to Hunter Ida and beheaded him in an instant. Only one hunter remained, and Goto instructed him to go with Bravo and prepare for the next phase. He warned that if the hunter stayed, he would only get in the way. Following the order, the hunter quickly escaped. Meanwhile, Goto started sensing the overwhelming energy radiating from the ant monster. He questioned how powerful it was becoming. The monster then spoke, asking Goto if he was the king of humans. Hearing this, Goto was shocked to realize that the ant monster could speak. Finding it interesting, he responded by claiming that he was indeed the king. Upon hearing Gato's answer, the ant monster's power surged even further. Its magical energy intensified, making even Gato nervous. He recognized the energy, realizing that he had only felt such immense power from Jinwoo before. Suddenly, darkness engulfed the area. Shortly after, Goto's sword was shown shattering, but the exact cause remained unknown. At the same time, a swarm of ant monsters infiltrated the hunter's nest and launched an attack. Choi attempted to fight back but was unable to defeat them all. The other hunters were severely injured and unable to retaliate. Seeing the hopeless situation, Beck admitted that they were in no condition to fight. Convinced that their battle had come to an end, he accepted defeat. As the ant monsters advanced to attack, their strike seemed inevitable. However, just before the attack could land, dark shadows emerged from the hunters' bodies. Jinwoo had implanted these shadows in them earlier. As they rose, they blocked the ant monsters, leaving everyone in shock. Beck, astonished, wondered aloud about the origins of these soldiers. Elsewhere, Jinwoo sat at the edge of a building, observing the situation. Realizing what was happening on Jeju Island, he stood up and activated Shadow Exchange. Now prepared, he was ready to enter Jeju Island and confront the ant monster. With this, the episode concluded on another thrilling cliffhanger. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video.